Not on yet, Ron?
Now we are, yeah.
Okay.
All right, I think we're going live right now, Mike. So as
Do it.
Ron always says, he usually introduces it with a 10 hut, and today we got a real special guest, a chief for a long time, right? Mike Marino. So Mike, thanks for coming on today. I really appreciate you filling in for Ron.
My pleasure, Rob. My
His
pleasure.
daughter.
Thanks for inviting me, Rob.
No, it's my pleasure. Believe me, you're always a legend. And Ron's not here tonight because I think he might be able to jump in later on. But I know his daughter had back surgery, so we just want to pray for a speedy recovery for her. I understand she's out of surgery and she's doing well. So I'm happy about that. Unfortunately for me, I'm going to start on a sad note, Mike. My one of my close friends from Bryan PD, Walter Melnick. He's an assistant chief there, 49 years of old. Unfortunately, he got leukemia, and he passed away a couple days ago. I met him a while back when I was in Special Operations Division. He had come up stayed up in an Airbnb in Brooklyn, and we took him around, showed him the New York City Marathon, how we detail stuff, and I developed a really good relationship with him. Constant back and forth. My son's a cop there in Bryan PD, so really sad. Like I said, 49 years old. Two daughters, and a loving wife. So I just want to wish his family the best. My heart goes out to them. My deepest condolences, and his extended family in Bryan PD. We feel your pain. To the men and women there, keep your head up. Walt was a great guy, and I'm sure he's looking down on every one of you and keeping you safe. So, you're in our hearts, Walt, and you absolutely made a strong impression on this world. And I'm sure in Bryan, you helped us, save a lot of lives, and we're with you. So I'm sorry to start on such a sad note, Mike, but
no, Rob. And before you go further, are they doing anything for his family? Are they doing any kind of GoFundMe or anything like that? You want to give that information out?
They haven't put it out yet. I had asked my son about that, so he was going to get back to me. But yeah, as soon as I do, I'll put it out on our social media. I'll put it on the our executive perspective Twitter account and stuff, and maybe give up more information next Wednesday. But I don't have that right now. But absolutely.
And we can we can do it on all the podcasts, right? So
yeah, definitely. Yeah.
It's kind of important with these things. Everybody give what you can, because that could be any one of us, and that's really the only way you can. It's the only way you can tell the family, we feel bad for you, that we're with you. I mean, really, what else can you do, right?
Right. So. No, it's important. Yeah, to show the support and stuff. I mean, I can also thank, I'm not going to name some of the people in the NYPD that had helped me too. Last month, or I think it was maybe a couple months ago, he was looking to come up to Sloan and needed a place to stay. And I called a lot of guys in the NYPD, and they usually say, right, when you're on the job, you're the best. When you retire, you're a pest.
Yeah.
But when I asked for help, a lot of these guys really, stepped up and, got me the information that I needed to get to him. So I appreciate that. But like you said, we're one big family, right? Doesn't matter where in the country, where in the world.
No.
We are. When push comes to shove, we might push back on each other and fight a little bit, but we're all from the same mold. That's what I believe. We all have that blue line in our hearts, and we care and show that care and carefulness to each one of us. So yeah.
Listen, but for the grace of God, baby, and he's got little ones. So
yeah. Very sad. Very sad.
Hi, Terry. How are you today? Terry's on.
Terry's on. I saw that. Terry, how you doing?
Hi, Terry. Good evening.
Terry's always on. So I guess Lily's always on too. Hi, Lily.
Yeah.
Usually when I'm watching and Lily says hi to somebody before me, I'm like, Lily, what the heck, man? You didn't say hi to me. So she goes down the list, though.
Hey, Sleepy Joe. So, well, I heard all these guys. How are you, Mr. Beast? All these guys this morning I saw on
Yeah,
John's podcast. Pretty interesting podcast.
yeah.
And
Oh,
I
they
tell
did a
you,
great.
and I tell you what, they really made me think a lot, about the different things they talked about afterwards. So I gave it a lot of thought because they brought up some good points and it makes you think, which
Yeah,
we'll
no.
hit. You're going to hit it anyway, right? Yeah, we're going to hit that today. So,
Yeah, yeah, no, that was very good. So, but I think we could start right with what the first thing on our agenda, I guess we can call it, with Sergeant Duran, Erik Duran, right? So, this was he was suspended from duty without pay, following this fatal incident. This was, I think, what, 3 years ago, and
yeah.
he attempted to stop a man from fleeing on a motorcycle or scooter at the time from a drug, a buy and bust operation. So, my first thoughts were, hey, the guy, the guy's fleeing, and what do we all do, right, Mike? We all try to stop the guy. That's our job. And when you and I had spoke about it before, I said, what is it? It's cops and robbers, right? That's what we are. So we're the
It
cops.
is.
Then we'll do anything in our powers to stop somebody, right? We
Yep.
want to apprehend that person.
Yep.
So, are there unconventional means that we use? Absolutely, and I'm sure we can get into a few, that each one
Oh,
of us may have used. But
oh my God. Oh my God. And,
yeah,
and again, but for the grace of God, because
true, right? I mean,
look, how many people have thrown a radio and hit a guy in the head? Okay, radio, nightstick. We talked about, hitting the bicycle with a car, knocking them down.
yeah,
Uh, I seem to remember some time with a brick, whatever. But and you're doing it, and you're making the call. You're not letting the guy go away. But something unfortunate is this: the guy passed away. Like he just would have fallen down and broken his arm, be no big deal,
right,
right? He died, and when you look at that tape, it was you're looking and go, oh boy, that's bad. But then you start thinking, oh, wait a minute. I kind of did stuff like that, and I've seen it done a million different times.
yeah,
He just had the unfortunate. He was unfortunate where the wheel stopped on him, and that guy died. And
yeah,
and that poor guy. And you go, wow, he was just doing his job. Kind of. I know it looks bad. I know a person died. I know you're not supposed to do stuff like that. But in reality, I. I've seen and done stuff like that a lot of times, and I've seen other guys do it. It was always okay. Nobody complained. Nobody got in trouble because nobody died. Now there was a guy
right,
that died. There was a guy that died. He threw a
yeah.
radio.
In the 2.5, I think, right?
He,
Originally,
he,
it was,
he threw a radio, and the guy went down and hit his head.
yeah,
Well, what if you okay, you do martial arts, so you give a guy an elbow strike. Well, the job doesn't train you to do that,
right,
and he
yeah,
and he goes down and cracks the back of it. How many times you read in the paper, a guy outside of a wall fell down, just got punched, fell down, back of his head, hit the curb, and he's dead, right?
yeah,
Well, then, gee, when you're not trained to do that, officer, why didn't you do this? And why didn't you do that? And why didn't you do this? And why didn't you do that? And why didn't you tase? And why didn't you? I don't know, because it happens fast. And what people don't think about, and it happened to me one time with an incident. I was a new sergeant. They were going to take my stripes, and basically, I was told when they called me in, they said, "Well, when we first heard the tape, we thought what you did was right."
hmm,
But after listening to it, half a dozen times and talking amongst ourselves, and there was a whole committee, we decided there was other things you could have done. Yeah, but I don't get that. I don't get 10 times. I don't get to it. Your first instinct when you heard it is how you have to judge me, because that's all I had. That's real time.
right,
I told them that. I said, you have to judge me based on what you thought. And they kind of went with it because it makes sense. You get all these friggin' bosses that sit up, Rob, that sit up on these
yeah,
committees. And a lot of them, for whatever reason, haven't been out there a lot. They haven't really done it themselves, and they're up in these committees, and then they're afraid of being second guessed. And, and I don't know. I don't know if they take, sometimes it almost seems like they take some kind of sadistic pleasure in finding, well, you could have done this. Yeah, I could have, but I didn't. It happened in 10 seconds. What do you want me to do?
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
I reacted. I mean, for God's sakes, I don't know. I don't know. I mean that looked bad because it was a big cooler, you know, and it hit the guy
Right.
like the cooler opened up, and then the kid, you know, wrecked. But what if you were chasing a car and you
Yeah.
bumped him? What if you were chasing a car and you bumped him and the car flipped? Well, we're not trained to do that.
No.
What if you're chasing a car, period? Like the former chief of patrol and chief of department told guys to chase cars for paper plates, which is ridiculous. You're putting them on the line. And remember the guys from the Bronx and they chased them over into Manhattan? And then the
Yeah.
car went on
And they
fire
and they
and they
left.
left. They got
Yeah.
afraid. They got
Yeah.
afraid because I know in their head they're going, "Oh shit, we're in the Bronx, we're in Manhattan, we're at a borough. Oh my God, we chased the car." Did the chief of patrol say no? I told him to do that. No, he didn't. No,
Yeah.
he suspended them. You know, they're going to lose it. They lost their jobs, I imagine. They could go. I mean, they failed to try to rescue him. They let
Yeah.
that guy. They let that guy burn. They turned
Yeah.
around and went back. They got
That
scared
that
because
I
they
didn't
said,
understand. Yeah.
yeah, they said, "Oh, we're fucked." You know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no, like you were saying, I think it was in 1998. I just looked it up. It's Craig Chemic, and I had
yeah,
just been I had just gotten promoted actually, um, and had gone to the 2-5 at that point when he was there, and he wasn't there, but I had heard about it, and yeah, I mean tragedy there, that
let's see. When
he
say
was
you see this guy stay trained up. He definitely wasn't educated on the ground. Throwing a cooler was stupid. Well, I don't know. I've thrown nightsticks. I've seen guys throw flashlights. I've seen guys throw things. You don't think about it. You're reacting. You see
wow, that's the
that's the
problem,
problem. That's the
right?
problem. See how you're sitting there judging him, right? Yeah, it turned out at the end of the day it was stupid. If that guy didn't die, nobody would care. What if he missed and hit a civilian? Okay, think about that every time you fire your weapon, every time you know what? Think about that whatever you do. What if he missed it? What with a cooler? He's going to miss that guy and hit a civilian down the block with a cooler? Come on, think about it. I mean, you see, you're doing exactly what Rob and I are talking about. The what if and the second guessing. He had 2 seconds and he reacted. Was it a good idea? Obviously not. The guy lost
Right.
his life. He's going to go to jail because the same judge that found him guilty is the one that's going to sentence him. I guarantee
Yeah.
you, this kid's going to jail. All
Yeah.
right. So you can sit there and judge all you want. The fact that you can sit there and judge like that tells you may never have been there yourself. Because
Yeah.
I can think of situations I was in. Man, that could have went the wrong way. After you look at that, you go, "Oh man, I threw my radio." Look at the guy Rob's talking about right now. The
Yeah.
guy threw a radio, which is not a big heavy thing. Oh, I guess you're right. What if he missed and hit a civilian a block away with a radio? Silly stuff. But what if the
Yeah.
fairy perp on a scooter killed a kid walking on the sidewalk? There you go, Mr. Fire Detective. What if he hit a cop? Now, I know the sergeant tried to use that as
Yeah.
a defense. I thought he may have. I don't think he thought anything. Honestly,
No.
I think that he just. What happens if you let the guy flee? Well, if you're chasing me, hits a civilian. Yeah, you're fucked. That's your
Yeah.
fault for chasing him. It's not his fault for doing it. I'm in law. I know you're in law enforcement, but no, I don't think you know what you're talking about. I don't think you've ever been there, because listen, I've investigated these things. When I first saw that tape, I said, "Oh, that was bad. That was a bad idea," because I know the guy was dead. But if the guy fell down and just got locked up, nobody would be saying a word. And it happens you know what? I bet
Yeah, but Mike, you know what it is too, though? It's like we spoke about it, and we can talk about it a little bit too with Mike Piggott. We talk about the intent, right? So their intent was not to, I'm sure Erik Duran's intent was not to, knock him off
No,
and let him hit his head and stuff. His
no.
intent was to stop him and apprehend him.
Yeah, yeah.
Just like it's similar to the same reason why we say, well, why do you shoot? Somebody, we shoot to stop, right? Remember, you're trained you're taught in the academy. We never shoot to kill anybody.
No,
We shoot to stop them.
no.
And I think this is the similarity here is that, hey, you couldn't shoot him because there was no weapon or whatever. Like I think John, Eric, and Marlon had spoken about it too. What if you tasered him? What if you maced him? What if,
Okay.
I think
So, but
Marlon even
okay,
brought up a great point. What if you
okay,
threw a pillow?
okay. So what if you tasered him and he fell and hit his head? Now listen, You speak about Mike Pickett, and God rest his soul.
Yeah.
Mike was a very good man. I was first boss on the scene. One of the things they talked about was he shouldn't have tased him because he was elevated. He was on top of the roll down gate, and he could have fallen off and hurt himself. Oh, yes. And if I did this, and he could have done. So, you know what you should have done? Just walk away and leave him there. Go to Central and say, Central, we're going 98. He doesn't want to be arrested today.
Yeah.
I mean,
and then they get you for not taking police action then.
Listen.
Right? Failure to take proper police action.
It's an ever-changing environment. You're acting on instinct. I love all this bullshit training. We don't get training. You get 6 months training in the academy and then you're on the street. They don't have time to train.
Yeah. And that's all you're going to get.
They gave us the 9s in 95 and they said, well, you're going to have to go 4 times a year. And then they did the math. They didn't have enough points to train 40,000 people 4 times a year, and they didn't want to lose the manpower. They couldn't do it. So there is no training. Your training is your experience. And you know, if you have the good fortune of working with great people like I did, who had more time than me and taught me all through every rank. We were just talking to Tommy Joyce and John Cornicello, the squad guys. They taught me when I was a captain. They taught me all about the squad. If you listen to guys, but your experience, you stay on the street a lot. And I don't know, tell me one street guy who worked in a tough place that never saw anybody throw something at somebody to stop him, hit him in the head, whatever. And most go, that was pretty cool. You hit him, he went down. That was great. I'm going to do that next time.
Yeah. You know what, Mike? Let's play the video, right? Let's show the video of Erik Duran, and let's see, you know, let's see exactly what we're talking about here.
2023.
I got it.
August 23rd, 2023. This is when the fatal incident occurred, now taking center stage in court.
This poor guy, look at his
as an
face.
alleged homicide. At the top of your screen, you can see the victim, Erik Duran, driving a motorized scooter on the sidewalk. As he passes, plainclothes NYPD Sgt Erik Duran throws a cooler at him. The scooter crashes and Duran dies.
You know what? I mean, I will say something, Mr. Stay Trained Up. That scooter was going very fast. The first time I saw it, I said I thought it was bad. It doesn't look great. I don't know.
At the top of your screen,
I don't know that it's a good idea. You know, and obviously now it's not because the man passed away. He's dead. And, you know, he's not a saint. You know, they tell you he's got 3 kids and this and that, but he's been locked up numerous times. And, you know, I wonder how many mothers, sons, and kids' fathers died buying the stuff that he was peddling too.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he deserved it, but I have a hard time. Listen, we can all sit here now and go, shit. I mean, it looks bad because he hit him in the head with the cooler too. He hit him high. He didn't throw it low. But if he threw it low and hit it in the tire and the guy went down and died, would it make a difference? No. The optics look very bad. He hit it. For all you know, that shot in the head killed him with the cooler.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, you're 100% right. So, you know, it's easy for everybody to sit back and not be in that particular, you know, position. Like we're saying, like this poor guy Duran, he's faced up to 15 years in prison, it's in prison on this second-degree manslaughter. And like we said, right, that same judge that found him guilty on a bench trial is the same judge that's going to be able to sentence him on March 15th. March 19th. But, you know, did he, you know, he pick up the cooler? Can we say now that we, you know, picked up this cooler was a bad idea? Yeah, I could say that now, but I'm in the luxury of my own home. I'm in the luxury of being on a podcast, watching it in slow-mo. But if I was on the street, I can't tell you that I wouldn't have done the same. And Mike, I had told you the story when I was in the Street Narcotics Enforcement Unit in the 4-1, and the guy was he was selling crack off his bicycle, and he took off. He went down Garrison Avenue, made a right on Tiffany, and he was getting away. So I was only one in pursuit because the other team members were, you know, had the buyers and the P van and everything else, which is the prisoner van. So I bump him with the back of my RMP. And it bends the rear wheel, and I see him go like this, and then boom, he falls.
He could have died.
He could have. I jumped out. I grabbed him. We arrested him, and I recovered the crack cocaine. But yeah, could I have been in the same position? 100%. 100%. He could have he fell off the bike, cracked his head on the sidewalk, and died. So yeah, I mean it's hard to judge, somebody when when hindsight being 2020,
If you put yourself in the situation, it's easy for us to sit here and do that. Now, I know John and Eric and stuff were talking about that this morning. People saying, well, you're not trained to do that. You know what? I don't know what the hell I was trained to do in the academy. Not much. I mean,
nothing about a scooter, right?
No. I know I got knocked out by Mike Emmett in the academy. He was a boxer, Mike. But
we weren't allowed to box in the academy when I went through because too many guys were getting knocked out.
There was a guy that fell backwards with the gloves on and broke both of his wrists, and they had to pay him for like years. That's why. and because Mike Marino got knocked out by Mike Emmett and threw up afterwards. But we really don't get a lot of training. Your training is your street sense. I had the you don't throw anything and shoot anyone fleeing. And so, well, listen, I don't know. You could say that the past 15 years, I think we've always said that. Like when I came on in '79, you heard the older guys, look at the fuck they're hiring now. I mean, we've always said that. I guess society changes.
Yeah.
And the union officials, no, you're right. They don't stand behind. I don't know what you can do with that except to say, hey, I guess if I'm the union, I don't know. I mean, it's not an exact science. It's so fluid when you work the street. I mean, you're going on raw instinct sometimes and what experiences taught you. And, a lot of times you're going on a fight or flight kind of thing. Like you're just protecting yourself or the people around you. And
Right.
you're not thinking, what are we supposed to think about the patrol guide? And there's no time for that. And then there's those of us that have the pride, like you said, Rob, no, you're not getting away from me.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you have enough time to think about it, like you're chasing a guy, you go to stop a guy and he runs in a car, and you go, wait a minute. You start going like about out of hell and you're going, holy shit, it's 4 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
He must have did something bad because he's running, but I'm not going to chase a guy for a red light. I hurt your pride to let him go. You're pissed off,
Yeah.
No, you know something? NYPD 83, and I'll tell you why. I think he made a mistake with the bench trial.
Now, Mike, I'm going to say, I'm going to agree with you now. But in the past, remember, it was always, especially in the Bronx, it was always go for a bench trial because the judges were a little bit better then. But I think to your point, where you're going to make now it changed a little bit, and I'll let you say what you want to say. But
I agree, it changed a bit. But listen, he had opportunity to see that video, and so did his lawyer. And a judge, you got a jury of 12 people. If you could just reach one of them. Now, look, the kid's Spanish. There's going to be some Spanish people probably on the jury. Maybe some of them have relatives that are cops because a lot of Spanish, came on the job. There's a lot of the Spanish really, during the 80s really came on the job. And, I don't know. I think I would have rolled I think I would have rolled the dice with 12 people because if I looked at that video, I'm going, oh man, I know I didn't mean this, but I'm fucked. And the judge is gonna, I don't know. I just think a guy that already knows the system, he probably is not going to be as emotional as maybe a jury would. Hey, what if you get a woman on a jury and this guy Erik Duran looks like a son? You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
No, you're right.
This could happen. I don't know. I don't know what I would have done. I think the lawyers, and I thought it when I saw he was going with Judge Charles. I said, "Oh, I wouldn't do that," because I had already seen the video. It depends. It does depend on the judge, but you don't know who the judge is, and
that's the big problem. Is you don't know, right? What you're going to get.
I mean, listen, look at the video, see what happened. You're right. Say, yeah, I know, and I agree with you on that. Let him go. You'll see him again. But you know something? He wasn't thinking. He's thinking, this is the guy, I'm going to get him. He's dealing. This is my job. He's a bad guy. I'm the good guy, and the good guys get him, and that's that. I know you're right. If you had a minute to think about it, but a judge looking at that A judge looking at that video, us looking at that video, being cops, go, that really looks bad, man. He hit him in the head with it. Holy shit, the guy died. Listen, we understand why he did it, and I do 100%.
Yeah.
But it's not. Unfortunately, it's not legal. It's just not. And if somebody wants to make an example out of you, it's really going to be easy. You know, you weren't trained to do this. You're criminally reckless. Yeah.
I mean, that's another problem, right? So like you have those new laws where the prosecutors, like, from New York State, right? Letitia James, and because somebody died, now they're able to, start to investigate it, and like you had just said, Duran was criminally reckless, pointing to this is what Letitia James is saying, pointing to the judge, to the video showing Dupre picked up a cooler with both hands. Listen, and chuck it at the fling. So what was if you used one hand, it would have been better. I mean, that's a fucking.
I remember her when she was running. She was a lot thinner then. She was a lot thinner then too. I remember, and my opinion of her then and now, she's a self-serving, holier than thou. She's a bit racist. And she is. When you heard her talk, it was pretty apparent the way she spoke about different things. And I just don't listen. She's definitely not, a neutral, prosecutor. And this standard of care that the gross deviation from the standard of care. It's 1, 2, 3. It happens quickly. He acted on instinct. This is not something he did. He didn't pick up that cooler and say, I'm going to kill this guy. He may never even thought he was going to hit him. It may have been for effect, You ever see like when somebody's and a guy lets one go in the air just for effect? Unless you're the former chief of department, because then you just put it in the guy's back when he's unarmed. But that's a whole nother story. But guys do things out of frustration or out of I'll give you, for instance, the woman that got killed in Minneapolis. Good, right?
Right.
And my nephew called me, and he's a very he's in his early 30s, but he's really, really hard right. I mean, like he's got to lighten up. He's very, very, very politically astute, but he's really a lot. So he goes, "What do you think, Uncle Mike?" And I'm looking, and I just turn the video on, and I see him shooting into the driver's window at a 90-degree angle, going, "Oh, that doesn't look good," because the car's already passed him, right?
Right.
Because that's all I'd seen. Then I see the next video where it hits him, and I don't think she meant to. I don't think it matters to him, though, if she meant to or not. You get hit by a car, you hit by a car. Whether they mean it or not, you're hurt, you're dead. But the first round went through the window, through the windshield. He shot at her as she's coming at him, and then she's by him. And how long did it take? Half a second? And he kept firing. So the next two went in the window. So you could slow it down, and it looks horrible. The threat was past him. He started shooting, and he didn't stop right away. He's fired another. I don't know. How long does it take you? How long? Hey, Rob, how many seconds did it take you to let 16 go out of your 9? 3?
Yeah. No, I mean,
so he let 3 rounds go, and that's and it looks horrible. And when you look at it afterwards, you go, "Oh man, he shouldn't have done that. Why did he do that? He should have stopped shooting." And then you think, when you were there, and you were involved in it, think about when a guy jumps you, and now you're fighting and rolling, and you get the better of him now, and the switch went off for you. It's fight or flight. You're going through emotional and physical stuff. You're not who you normally are now, and you're going to take him and pound his face into that cement until it opens up. And your partner grabs him and says, "Oh, I got it," because he sees you're not you anymore.
Right.
Because you're in the middle of it. It just doesn't turn on and turn off.
No.
And that's the hard part. I mean, I feel bad for this kid. I know what he did. And don't take this wrong. I know it was wrong, because he the way it turned out, I don't think he meant it. For all I know, maybe he never even thought he was going to hit this kid. Maybe he's just doing it for effect. And holy shit, he hit him in the head, and the kid went down and he's dead. And the guy's going, "Oh man, what am I going to do now?" And that poor kid's going to pay the price. He's going to pay the price because he was out there. He didn't want to let the perp get away. He, whatever. I just, it's unfortunate, and I can't. I just, for the life of me, I can't sit here and we don't criticize, we critique.
Right.
Because you don't want it to happen again, right? So what can we do to stop this? So it's not, I wasn't there. I wasn't in his shoes.
You got to learn from other people's actions, and you learn from your own actions. And I'll give you an example of, like, when you talked about, shooting the gun. Will Flores was a sergeant in the emergency service unit, and he was on a job up in Harlem, and an EDP came at him. I believe the EDP tried to stab one of Detective Mateo, and he actually stabbed him into the our vests, right, the heavy vest. So he was stabbing him, and Will Flores shot him 3 times. You know what happens? They say we find out the first 2 shots were justified, but you shouldn't have shot him the 3rd time.
Yeah, you had a right to kill him, but you killed him too much.
Yeah, I mean, come on, are you freaking kidding me?
Because this is the people that sit there and take it apart frame by frame. Now, Mr. Johnny Drama, you asked if he lived, does Duran get reprimanded? I'm going to tell you honestly, if I'm the boss on the scene, I'm not writing him up probably. If the guy lived, no real harm done, maybe you sit him down later on, maybe you sit the whole crew down and say, listen, that was dumb. I'd rather you just let him go than do that. You could have killed him. You'd be going to jail. The whole team is going to get disbanded. Think about it. What was it for? A dime bag of Coke? You got to put things in perspective.
Yeah.
Right. You don't.
It happens.
Eleanor Bombas. You chase a guy. You chase a guy. Okay. When I told you they almost took my stripes, that was a car chase, and one of my guys got hurt very badly. He never worked again, and later on he was killed. Paul. It was a sergeant very close to my guys. I still talk to them. So that was a very traumatic thing. And of course I felt responsible because I could have called it off. But the fact of the matter is it was 3 o'clock in the morning. I didn't know what the chase was for. I was on a special category missing. I'm all over the radio. What's the chase? What's the chase? What's it for? What's it for? I'm trying to evaluate, because what if they just shot somebody?
Right.
You don't know. And then they were going very fast. The cross streets were like coming quick. And they had a horrific accident. So did the perps. So did they. And I came damn close to losing my stripes. And a couple of weeks after it was all over, there was another car chase started in the 7-5. It was a rape pattern. The guy was raping women by at gunpoint. And so it was transit. Remember when the transit had the 4x4s robbed back when they didn't have the trucks,
Yeah.
And you hear that they're following somebody out of the 7-5, and you hear the girl in the car screaming. They got the naked girl in the car in a 4x4, and they're following this Cadillac, and they're right on him. And it's on Linden Boulevard by Brookdale over there, and it's 3 o'clock in the morning again on a Saturday, and the 7-5 sergeant calls off the chase, and I got on the air and said, have the 7-3 units continue to chase. Now, I almost just lost my stripes. The guy I was driving at 18 years, he looked at me and go, what are you, out of your mind? But it's a different thing. And they wound up stopping him, and they collared him and everything else. Now, if he had an accident or ran somebody over, I was done. I'm cooked. Why'd you do it? But, but I hear the girl screaming. She just got raped. She's naked in the car. This guy's armed with a gun. This is a pattern. He's been doing this. It's only a matter of time before he kills somebody, and we're cops. So, you roll the dice. Now, I could have went the wrong way, and I imagine I'd be, what is this? The 7 deadlies. Oh, if the pursuit doesn't meet the 7 deadlies, I don't know. Listen,
it's you know what, Mike? It's a hard thing because you can talk about the problem is that they go right back to training, right? So if you're in a trial or anything, and I just want to thank Julio Tavares. He reminded me that Sergeant Flores did beat that case in court about that 3rd shot.
Of course he did, because it's stupid.
Yeah, it is stupid. And we shouldn't even been there. But the problem is they go back to training, right? So they'll say, well, you're trained in it, and like you had mentioned earlier, the NYPD doesn't train you in anything. I mean, no. I was lucky enough to go through some of the specialized training school for ESU.
Oh,
I mean, that's training, right? That's the real deal. But other than that, the NYPD, what do they do?
But even they, right? So you had Eleanor Bumpers, right? With them, you had the The hand
Oh, yeah,
grenade.
yeah.
You had the hand grenade with Dave Driscoll when he let them throw it and blew the guy's arm off, right? And Dave was on the bench for a long time for that. And what he did is what I would do as a boss. You ask the emergency shed, can we use a grenade? And do you need it? You tell me. And you guys were the experts. I did what you guys told me to do.
Right, right.
Right? It didn't matter. It didn't have to be. It could be a white shield cop. And I said, what do you think? And then, of course, I mean, these guys were pros. And they still made mistakes.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, what are you going to do?
No, I mean, you can't. If the NYPD, what they do is they give you a video to watch and demand that you watch it. Now it's all on the computers, right? Make sure you log in, watch the video. It's all CYA for the job. It has nothing to do with you because you don't get anything out of these stupid videos. And what they're going to do is when something happens, they're going to say, well, he was trained in this or she was trained in this, and here's the documentation. So they use it against you, the lack of training. And so the problem is what do you do in the streets out there? So I think we're at a point now, unfortunately, and I think you and I spoke about it. I would have never said this to anybody. Like I was pretty active as a cop. I loved being out there. I stayed on patrol my whole life. Even in special operations, we were responding to patrol jobs. So I loved it. So when you start you're seeing that they're criticizing and they're looking at everything that you do, and then you can get in trouble for it. I almost say, why do anything? It's a hard statement to say. But
I'm kind of with you, and I always told my cops, look, and I asked them to work. I mean, I loved my guys, I did, but I asked them to work. There's no excuse because people depend on you. It's an important job. You're not making shoes.
Right.
People depend on you, and I grew up in Brooklyn. As a lot of us did. I grew up without a dad, as a lot of us did. I know what it was like. I used to take occasional beatings. I got robbed on a train. We all went through all that stuff growing up, and it means a lot to people. And who's he say? Stay trained up. He says he's a cop in the South. I live down in Florida now, and I live in Collier County, and I love the deputies here. I really think they're great guys and girls, and they treat me so nice. And you go to the range where they train, man, they're all jacked up, those guys. Oh, my goodness gracious. And they couldn't be nicer to you. And they work alone, which, man, I don't know. You see a guy out. Yeah. You see a guy in the middle of the night doing a car stop. And oh, my God, this guy's. And, everybody's down here's got a gun.
Yeah,
Florida. Yeah.
No, I like what BSK 1824 says is because I did midnights at every rank. I did it as a cop, sergeant, lieutenant, and obviously I would get the duty on the midnights as a new captain, inspector, or whatever. But I remember when they used to come around the training log, Mike. Do you remember? And they would say they didn't show you anything back then. They just said, "Here, sign the training log. You've been trained." And then you'd go to the locker room and go change and get ready to go home and stuff. Yeah. That was the original training.
Yeah,
that's so funny.
And because we never got meals in the summertime, you only running 3 cars. And one of your cars got a 6 o'clock meal. You allowed him to sleep till 8 as a break because we never got meals. You rotated that, so you didn't go to. When a hurricane's coming, Mr. Drama, I don't do much because where I live. We got hit a little bit, but I'm probably about, I don't know, 11, 12, 13 miles off the water, so it's not too bad. I had a little damage to a little bullshit. But you don't see a lot of people bugging out, because the news makes everything into, it's going to be a hurricane. After a while, it's, how many times can you cry wolf and people don't believe it? I can tell you,
so the first hurricane was Milton that came by me. And it was coming in as a category 4. So, I have the metal shutters, right, that you put up on the on the window. So, I mean, I don't know. I see nobody's doing it in the neighborhood. All of a sudden, one guy does it. So I said, all right, I'll start to put mine up. And then everybody in the neighborhood, all of a sudden, it spreads like wildfire. The panic.
Nobody wanted to be the first to get called.
Nobody wanted to be the first. Yeah. And then everybody's putting it up. So then we go around. And then it was so funny. My wife is like, all right, we're going to leave. I go, no. I said, we're in a bottom level cement house. I said, I put up all the storm shutters. We're gonna ride it out. She goes, you're out of your mind. She goes, I want to leave. I said, no.
It
We rode it out.
It depends where you are. I mean, I was working on Staten Island when Sandy came through.
Sandy, oh, that was terrible.
And that was tough. I mean, I was out there, and oh man, you emergency guys, oh, I was so scared because they wanted to go in. I let them go in, and it was so bad. I was scared that I sent them to their death, and a horrible feeling, you see the damage it can do. I mean, there was damage a couple of years ago down here by the water. I mean, it's all the expensive homes.
Yeah.
And man, they took a beating. And I remember flying into the airport, Fort Myers Airport. I had to go up north, and it was like a year and a half later, and you could see the roofs of the houses. They still had tarps on them. I mean, the insurance is a scam. They don't pay off. You can't get you can't get contractors. They're busy, and you get a lot of scams down here in Florida.
Yeah.
And oh yeah, you sure you saw a yacht on someone's front lawn. Oh my God!
When Sandy hit, we went out to Staten Island, and I remember houses just were completely ripped off and they were just floating around. It was crazy. I might have said this story before, a tragic story in Staten Island. I don't know if you remember this. And ESU guys actually recovered them. There was a female in a car, and she was driving on, I think, Father Capilano Boulevard.
Father Cap, right down on the water, yeah.
And then she went into knocking somebody's house and said, "Can you let me in? Let me in." The guy wouldn't let her in.
Kids, it took kids.
Two kids.
2 kids.
She held onto him on a tree, and the storm came in and swept the 2 kids away. And unfortunately, they both passed away. And really horrific is, the ESU guys that actually were able to. I'm happy we recovered the bodies, but very, very sad. These 2 young kids got swept away. So yeah, it was That was tragic.
There was an off-duty cop there too who lived down by the beach there, and he got his family all up, I guess, to the top floor, and then he said, "Oh, I better go downstairs." He wanted to turn off the electric service down in the basement.
Oh,
he got electrocuted. Yeah,
yeah. I remember
your guys were trying so hard to go in, and
did he have a radio? Because I remember somebody screaming on the radio for it was like a 1013, and our guys were trying to get to. That might have been in Queens, out on the Rockaways.
I think that may have been in Queens. Your guys were going in, and they went in as a team, and it was bad. I mean, it was really bad. I remember they put the Johnny boat in, the wind turned it around, and they put the Wave Runner in, and that thing goes 80 miles an hour. Yeah, and the wind turned that around. Yeah. And now they want to go in, these guys, and holy shit, oh my God, because the water kept coming up. It wasn't a wave; it just comes up like a toilet overflowing. And you guys, I tell you what, you guys are brave bastards, because they went in, and I told them, I got to hear from you every 30 seconds. If you don't answer me, I'm going to call you back, and you come back. You better come back when I call you, because you're afraid you're sending them to their death. You're allowing them to go. They wanted to go. They're like, please.
Oh,
they wanted to say, they're brave bastards.
Yeah. No, I think William Robert Nolan said, that one of them did have a radio. So, but what I used to always say with being an ESU, the hardest thing was holding those guys and gals back.
Oh yeah.
They would go up 1,000%. They would go through a brick wall if you asked them to do it. So yeah, they were tough.
They go through a brick wall if you told them not to. Those guys, because they were begging me, and they knew that there was the off-duty cop, and they knew there was other people. They knew there was other. But Ray Ferrara was trapped. Ray was a chief, and they just want to go help people, and they don't get. Please let us go. We can do it. We can. Oh shit, they're gonna get killed. Tough.
Yeah, sad. So what do you think? You think I'm guessing Duran's. I would say they upped his bail money too. They did that. That's a little petty to me. Really, you think he's a flight risk, and then you think that this judge is gonna sentence him to to jail time. I
think he's going to jail.
Yeah, I think so too. I think when we spoke about him, that Craig from the 2-5, he ended up doing sentenced to 3 years. So I truthfully, unfortunately, I'd have to say that I would hope guys and gals out there in the field now take it and and understand, you better not, you are probably better, like State, Tuned Up said earlier, you may even be better. We don't want to do it, but you may even better just let the guy go, right, at this point, because is it really worth it?
Yes, it's better. It's better to let him go. And I'm trying to find you. I lost you there, Rob. Let me grab you. I did lose you. Shit. Fucking phone.
Yeah.
Hold on a second. Yeah, my phone rang and it hooked up with the computer and I got lost. And hold on a second.
All right.
Man, this sucks. Hold on. Oh man. I'm gonna get you back. Let me see what I'm doing here. But let me get back here. Hold on.
Yeah, so I mean, we'll have to see, right? So once the judge actually makes his decision, I think he's gonna sentence him to some time, unfortunately. Which
There we go.
I think he's learned enough already. I don't think he needs to be sentenced any time. He's gonna lose his job. I don't think he had over 20, so he's gonna end up losing, his pension and everything else. So
and what happens if they let him off? Okay, how does that kid's family feel? They're gonna feel he got off because he's a cop,
right?
Now, if he wasn't a cop, this is a tough one. If he wasn't a cop, and he's just a guy on the street, you're arguing with somebody, the guy's driving away on a scooter, and the other guy throws a cooler and he dies, would you say he should go to jail or not?
Yeah, I mean, I
It's
guess
really hard. We
Yeah,
know, we feel that we know what he was thinking because we've been there, and we have all the sympathy in the world for that guy.
right.
Whenever you do anything like that, listen, anytime you take out your pistol and you fire, you're rolling the dice because people can second guess it. You do it, and then you act quickly, you act on instinct. I don't know. What if you punch a guy in the throat and you kill him? Oh,
Yeah, I mean, anything, right?
It's a martial arts move, right? You punch him in the throat, you kill him. Oh, you're not trained to punch. When did they ever train you to punch people in the throat? I'll tell you who. Look at Derek Chauvin, right? In jail.
Yeah.
Now, you want to talk about before, I think it was Mr. Drama talking about a judge trial. He's better off with a judge. Okay. Well, the fact is that Derek Chauvin was not on his neck. That was a video that was taken by a female EMT who doesn't like the cops, judging by the things she said when she was taking the video. And the body cam on one of the cops from behind shows he was clearly, without a doubt, unequivocally on his shoulder blade.
Yeah,
which is a
and
technique.
He was trained, right?
Which is
Following
a technique.
the training.
The technique, and they call it extreme restraint technique. The chief gets up and under oath says they're not trained to do that. Well, Derek Chauvin's mother comes in with his patrol guide, I guess, training man. And it not only does it explain it, it has a picture showing it. Right. Now, Rob, you've investigated these things. I've investigated these things. And a lot of times what I looked at when I saw that video, other than the fact that you realize a man's dying and it's hard, I'm looking at them. I'm looking at their body English. Derek Chauvin's on his back. I thought he was on his neck. And he's not mad. He's just looking around, The rookie cops that are with him, like if I was doing something crazy and we were on video, you'd be next to me looking at me like, what the hell? You see it on your face. Something's wrong. You'd be gripped. Those three cops were not concerned at all. This was another day to them. They're trained to do this, and they do this all the time. Unfortunately, he died. And by the way, the original ME's report said that it had nothing to do with his death, the guy kneeling on him. They hired Michael Baden, who, takes the money, and now, he gets on the TV. But the chief lied, and the judge refused to allow that book in his evidence or the body cam video.
Right.
All right. That was political because they were afraid of the riots, which they suffered anyway. Well, that's like saying, well, all these people are being arrested, so it's a bad law. No, it's bad action. You're supposed to judge on the merits of the law. The chief lied. The judge let him do it. The judge didn't allow an exculpatory evidence. This poor guy's in jail.
Yeah, no.
And he did nothing wrong.
Yeah.
So,
no, I mean, right. You're talking about a guy that followed the procedure and followed the training, and then he still gets convicted and thrown in jail. So yeah, I totally agree. That's
And here's another one. All right, because everybody on here, we're all experts. And look, you see a lot of people criticizing bosses, and a lot of bosses need to be criticized. And the ones that need to be criticized are the ones that, when they get notified they got to go out on a cop shooting, they're mad at the cop immediately because they now have to make a decision, and they might be second guessed, and maybe they don't get another promotion, and so they're pissed because they're being inconvenienced instead of worrying about that cop, right, who just went through a horrific thing. But let's go back to who was the cop? The kid with the nightstick down in Brooklyn South. He went to jail. The nightstick. He sodomized a guy with the nightstick.
oh yeah, I can't think of his name.
I'm getting old. I forget the I forget the perp/victim's name, and I forget the cop's name. Right.
Yeah, Volpe. There you go.
Yes. Thank you. Thanks very much. That's it.
I think that's Marlon throwing Volpe in there. Yeah.
But I want you to think about something. Knowing our culture like we all do, Justin Volpe, thank you. You're on a desk, and the sergeant was on a desk, right?
Yeah.
And the bathroom was right over here. And I don't know, but I think that if I'm Abner Louima, thanks so much, man. Thank you, Ronnie. If somebody's doing that to me, I imagine I'm going to be screaming a little bit. I mean, it's going to hurt. And the sergeant hears it. And now next thing, supposedly, reportedly, Volpe's running around. I just broke him in. He's got the stick, right? And it has feces on it and stuff. And Louima's bleeding from a place he shouldn't be bleeding from.
Right.
All right. Suppose he turns around and says, Justin Volpe, put your gun and shield on the desk, you're arrested. There's a lot of us. When we were cops, that fucking sergeant, he fucking ruined his career. That motherfucker, he destroyed him, right? And for the rest of his career, he'd be thought of as the biggest scumbag in the world. He arrested a cop. He sided with the perp.
Right.
Right? Now, think about what happened. Think about the 2 street crime guys that were sitting there with a gun collar who got in trouble. Think about some guys that went to jail because they just had the bad misfortune of not banging in that day. Because all those guys are going, oh shit, I wish I had banged in. I don't want to be here for this. This is not going to go good. The sergeant has to, if he's a good boss, and it's tough, I don't know that I could do it either. He's got to realize in our culture, they can't give Justin Volpe up. But they wish that somebody would. And that's the boss's job. And the boss had to do it. And it would have protected all those guys that got fired, that got in trouble, that had to hire lawyers. I know one guy thank God his father was wealthy because he went through a fortune in lawyers, right? If the sergeant had done that, his career would have been done. He'd be the biggest scumbag. Nobody'd want to work with him, talk to him. But go back and ask all those guys now. Yes, he did get railroaded. You're right. He did. He did get railroaded. Oh, when you were a sergeant, right? No, I know I never ratted anybody out when I was a sergeant. So that's just not true. I took very good care of my guys. And if you think that's true, why don't you get on the phone, Mr. Philly, the guy, and call the guys that still call me, that work for me. I never ratted anybody out on this job. I wouldn't do that. If I was a boss and they did something wrong and I had to address it, I addressed it. But I never ratted anybody out. You worked with me. Well, then either you're mistaken, you got the wrong guy, you're just full of shit. But that's life because I never ratted anybody out.
Well, I mean, technically, like we're saying, if a supervisor sees something wrong, like you just mentioned in Volpe's case, and he does report it and he does make the arrest, the job is going to label him a rat no matter what, right? So, but
yeah,
is he?
And see,
no,
Johnny Drama asks that he's a sergeant. It's his job. It is, Johnny. You work down
that's what
south.
I'm saying. Yeah.
I think you work down south, Johnny, and guys down south, to me, tend to be a lot more. I want to say almost official, right? like, you hear stories about, a cop giving another cop a summons and stuff, and they look at it like, hey, I'm saving lives. You're speeding. It's my job to save lives. Up in New York, it was a little bit different. I mean, as a boss, if a guy was a very, very bad drunk and you sent him to the farm, as a boss, everybody, the guys all hated you. You wrecked his career. Meanwhile, I had guys years later come back and thank me and tell me, I hated you when you did it. They said, but you saved my life. You saved my career. You saved my marriage. Sometimes being a boss, you have to do something that's unpopular, and guys are going to hate you for it. And none of us want to be hated. We all want to be liked and thought of as good cops and stand-up guys and stuff. But something? Two things. Sometimes you have to do it for the good of somebody. And sometimes I used to tell new captains, don't do a good thing for a bad guy. We're not all good guys. Sometimes we do things, either we make mistakes or, we make mistakes, or we don't want to be disliked, or we love our cops. And, you can't make something good.
Well, you have to look at this too, Mike. You have to say this, like with Volpe, right? Had the sergeant done what you just had spoken about, he'd be called a rap. He would say, "Oh,
I'm sorry, but this guy Phil, I think I know who it is, and I know he scammed 3/4, I think. And no, the late tour guys did not run wild; they were good guys. What happened in the 7-3 happened on the 4-12s, and if you want to know the truth, they called us all into IAB, and they said we went through all your collars for 8 years, your entire midnight squad, and all we felt was you guys were a little bit too quick with your hands, but there was no, that's it.
But what I'm saying, Mike, is that I wouldn't worry about them. What I'm saying is, as a supervisor, you're gonna be that. But you know what? You know who they help. You help the guys that aren't gonna say anything to you. Not, like you said, the other guys that were in the command at the time. The desk officer himself and everybody else in the command. When you see something that erroneous and you take action, all right, everybody, why'd you do that? Why can you do this? Well, you're going to be able to help, all the other officers, and the ones that you did help, you're not going to hear from them, but they know you did. They know you did the right thing. So it's that's the problem. Is sometimes there's guys and girls out there that you may do something, and they're going to judge you, but the judgment is on what you did and how you did to protect them and other people. So some of our decisions aren't made to a lot of people think it's to protect me, so I stay my rank, or I get promoted to the next rank. Okay, that's all well and good. You can believe that, but a lot of the times when I made a decision on the facts and how it could impact that person and how it could impact the people that they worked for. And I'll give you a prime example. There was one time somebody was doing something in SOD, and the captain and somebody else came in and said, "Hey, we want to modify this guy." And I said to them, and you and I both were at that time when they were looking to modify Mike Piggott and Dick Marciano. So I pushed back. I said, "No, here's the thing. You don't do that to this person right now, because whatever the state of mind and whatever else is going on in their life, and I think it'll have a direct implication. So let's not do that." And that was based on what I learned, during Mike Piggott thing, and how things can affect it. Because you got to remember, the actions that we take and the actions that the job takes now has a direct impact on people, and the human element is often taken out of that. Okay, they only see lawsuits, they only see this, they only see that. They're only concerned about themselves, but they take the person out. And that's why I'll say now that if you're out there and you're on the streets nowadays, I would do what I have to do to get by. I wouldn't do anything further, because I think the job is not going to. The job never backed you, really, when you thought about it. Once in a while, you would get a supervisor that did, but the problem is if you do something they're gonna look to hang you. I've never seen where they actually stand up for you. It's very rare, that a job or somebody would stand up for you on an action that you did. So
There are bosses who worry. Like I said, the ones that, we were both duty chiefs or whatever, and you go out and then you saw the bosses when they got called out, where they're angry and it's because I got to make a decision and they're worried about it. They're already worried about being second guessed. There are bosses that will go the harder route. I remember with Mike Piggott when they wanted to suspend him, and I'm fighting him. Well, he did nothing wrong. Mike did nothing wrong. And then the chief of IB got on and says, well, we're just modifying. That doesn't hurt anybody. Well, it does if you're the one being modified and you're a proud cop. It does. But like they don't, but what did Mike do? He didn't, you looked at the tape and you looked at it and you know exactly what was going on in his head. You could see it. You saw what he did. Stand up. I told you, stand up. What does he say? First two things. I didn't come to work. He knew me. He, Mike, listen, I didn't come to work to kill anybody, and don't blame that cop. I told him to tase him. I mean, he put that in his suicide note too.
I know.
I mean, stand up right to the end, and
No, I agree. Listen. He followed in the patrol guide. Mike Piggott followed the patrol guide. The patrol guide said, "Don't tase." It said, when somebody's on an elevated platform or whatever, you should not. It doesn't say you couldn't. It said should not.
Right. Oh, they were hanging on that. Yeah, they were hanging on that.
Well, I mean that's the problem,
But the truth is, when you watched it, Mike was aware of all of that. He was also aware of the crowd, which was getting out of hand. You could see it.
Yeah. Right, Mike. What you're saying right there is exactly 100%. Nobody sees the other what's behind somebody. The same thing with Sergeant Duran, right? We don't know what was behind him. We don't know what was in front of him.
Man, that happened in the blink of an eye. I mean,
that's the problem. The same thing with Mike.
No, Mike actually.
Well, he had time to think of it, but
Mike was calculated.
Hey, there's the big guy.
Ronnie,
look at that.
How's everything, Ron? Good?
You're muted. You're muted.
You're muted, Ronnie.
Sorry, I wasn't ready. I didn't know Tom was going to throw me in today. Just for other people to know, we have Tom Joyce from the 10-4 Tavern has stepped up to produce the show today, too. And he threw me in before I was ready to come in, but that's all right.
So that's why the production's going so well?
It's going smooth. He's doing a great job. We appreciate it, brother.
But with Mike, Rob, no, Mike knew exactly what he was doing. He made all the right decisions. He even had, when they tased him, they had two guys. I saw two emergency service cops running in to catch him.
Yeah.
But I told you, he got tased, that naked man. He stiffened up like a javelin and launched himself head first. He kept his hands at his side, rigid, and his head hit 12 or 13 feet out from the wall. He jumped over the guys. Straight out like a javelin that Mike sent to catch him. There's no way he could have. Everybody thought he was just going to go limp and fall down. Right?
No, I know.
And there's just no way you could have. There's no way you could have anticipated it. You could second guess him from now till the end of the world. He made a decision, and I still believe the proper one, based on everything, all the information that was available to him at the time, with the changing situation. Threat to the public, threat to the cops. They were by themselves. It was going to get out of hand. You could hear it. You could see it on the tape. I wasn't there at that time.
Yeah, no, I saw it. Yep.
And if that guy broke his shoulder, Mike would be with us today.
Yeah.
If this guy on the scooter fell down and broke his arm, he'd still be in narcotics.
Right.
But
and like I said to you, though, the way the job treats you. So if Mike Piggott wasn't transferred to Fleet Services, here's a guy in the emergency service unit, a lieutenant, right? A very prestigious, a very important job, probably one of the best jobs in the NYPD because they have citywide coverage. They they literally have, go wherever they want. They do a great job. They respond to every job and they give you information when they first get there and they do a phenomenal job. But here's a guy that was taken from there, what you go to, you've done it in the 7-5, right? You've gone to the truck 7. They'll have dinner for you. They'll have coffee for you. It's an open invitation all the time. They want people to come in, that you question them. But when push comes to shove, they'll do their job. But here's a guy that had all that camaraderie, and all of a sudden he's pushed away and thrown into fleet services by himself on a desk that doesn't, with a phone, with no desk, sitting there, shunned by everybody in fleet service as like he was the biggest criminal in the world.
That's right. And
you cannot do. You cannot do.
No, they isolated him.
Yeah.
Poor Mike. Mike, I knew him pretty good, because you guys always came when I called, and I worked in places where we used you a lot, and I always cared for them. They were good guys, all brave guys and girls. And Mike was one of the best, and that was a damn shame.
He was.
Yeah.
So Ron, how's your daughter? Everybody's good, or?
She's doing well. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate all the concern, all the thoughts and prayers. Yeah, she got out of surgery. She's home. She's recuperating. Everything went well. So we appreciate everybody's thoughts.
Good. Yeah.
So.
Again, we were talking about. Go ahead, Ron. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I just want to thank Mike and Tom for stepping up. I didn't know what time I was going to get home and everything else. So I just wanted to jump in.
Well, thank God it turned out okay.
Yes, all good.
So, we were talking about the cooler guy, Ron.
We're past that.
Yeah. So shame.
And So don't worry about the guys in the chat. Listen, chat it up, vent if you want, but don't spam the chat. Give other people opportunity to say something. That's all we're gonna say. That's it.
Well, I mean, let's if you want to, we'll transition into a good moment then, right? So some of my guys, and I'll still call them my guys from aviation and scuba. They did a phenomenal job recently. As always, they rescued 3 men in Jamaica Bay. Like these 3 guys were walking on the frozen ice of Jamaica Bay and fell in. And they did a phenomenal job. I mean, we have a video of it. I'd love to, if we could throw that video up and just and then we can just discuss it a little bit on what a great job they really did. So I'm happy that they're still out there. Imagine being in a helicopter and being dumped into frozen lake, trying to rescue people.
Forget it.
And I've said this before, so that when they rescue somebody out on the water, Jamaica Bay is not bad, right? From Jamaica Bay, you can usually see the Rockaways, you can see Brooklyn or whatever. But if you go out into the ocean, right, they go out as far as Sandy Hook. That's the area of responsibility we have for air sea rescue. It's a coordinated agreement with the Coast Guard. So let's say you're out in the middle of the ocean on a boat and you call a Mayday and you get on channel 17 and request the Coast Guard. Our aviation unit's going to go there with the scuba team, and if they have to make a rescue, they drop the scuba guys into the water, okay, and then what they'll do is they'll either a basket or like a horse collar, they're able to lift the victim back up into the helicopter. Now when the helicopter reaches a certain amount of people, it's weight. You got the pilot, the co-pilot, the crew chief, and now you might have a victim. So they might be close to capacity. So they'll fly back or drop somebody at the hospital, and they'll leave the divers in the water. Like imagine that you're one of those divers and you're sitting there in the water and you watch your helicopter fly away and there's nobody around and you got to sit there and tread water. These guys are amazing. You know
how cold that is? How long before you start suffering from hypothermia?
Yeah, they have the dry suits on, but geez, so but I wouldn't want to be out there. You're out there by yourself, and they mark you with the long and lats. You coming back?
It's a little dark and lonely. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, imagine doing a rescue at night, right? They leave you out there, and you're like, geez, So, I was listening to it's a quick story. So I was listening to a comedian. I don't know if you saw him, but he talked about you're ever on a plane and they talk about in the event of a sea, landing in sea or water, you have to put the life preserver on, and they show you how to strap it, and they say there's a little light on it. Then they say there's a little whistle, right? So the plane crashes, you're in the water, and you're blowing the little whistle. You think anybody in a helicopter is going to hear you? The guy was hilarious. He's like, there's no way that somebody in a helicopter with the noise of a helicopter is going to hear you blowing that little whistle down in the water. But yeah, I mean, it's just amazing. Those guys they're in phenomenal shape, and they
forget it. You got to swim to do that. I can never.
Oh yeah, yeah, and I always say that there's no there's no hooks or anything else getting into harbor scuba. If you can't swim, you can't do that job. You're not getting in, because what happens is you're risking lives. You're risking your own life, and you're risking the life of somebody you're rescuing. So those guys, in my opinion, are top notch. They're really, really amazing. So they do it every day. And you know what? So the other thing is, what they do is they go around to precincts. I don't know if your precinct ever bordered water or anything else. They'll go around and they'll do ice water training with the ladders and the ropes and everything else. One of the detectives, Robert Rodriguez, is a great guy. He's been there a long time. He is always goes around and tells people, tells cops, how to actually make a rescue out on a lake, with frozen water. A lot of those lakes have these ladders, these red ladders that are, up against in the event of, somebody falls in the ice, and you can use the ladder as a rescue. So yeah, no, they did a phenomenal job. So,
see,
Ron, we have that video, Ron, or
yeah. I just again, the nonsense comments are unnecessary. As a matter of fact, I couldn't stand kiss asses, and anybody that worked for me would tell you that. So all I'm saying,
Ronnie, I know who that is. He got people in trouble, and when he said I've got to rat him out. He got people in trouble. He scammed 3/4, and he was never a good cop. Yeah. Now there's something on in the paper today, and this is to go back again to cops. Ronnie, we were talking about the guy with the scooter, and we could see how that would happen. And I'm sure that wasn't his intention. Unfortunately, the results are going to hurt him. This here, NYPD cop indicted in 2 on-duty clashes, including standoff with man who called out as while driving. There's a cop, 42 years old. He's a big guy. He's been on for 20 years now. And he got into an altercation, a verbal altercation in a park with a guy. In the park down in Brooklyn South by Sunset Park. And the guy calls him out for the way he's driving. He gets out of the radio car. He kind of goes nose to nose with the guy. He winds up bringing him to the station house. In the station house, the guy said something to him. He slaps the guy in front of the desk sergeant. And apparently, he's kind of done stuff like this before. Now, I don't know this to be true. This is what you hear. And the sergeant, he told me, the cop, you're out. And the arrested guy was taken to NYU, treated and released, right? He got slapped, and he's facing indictments now on a few charges, on multiple charges. I don't know how this attempted assault, I don't know what attempted assault, I mean, there's no such thing as attempted assault. How do you either hurt him or you don't hurt him. You can't, there's no attempted assault. That would be, I guess, harassment, right? Yeah. But anyway, he got indicted, and this is the way it's going. I don't know that the cop was right or wrong. It appears he may have overreacted. This guy got under his skin, and he let his emotions get out of hand. I can't say that to be true, but the cop supposedly had to be restrained by the sergeant and other cops in the station house. I mean, if you're in front of the sergeant and you whack a guy in front of the sergeant, you probably lost your stuff a little bit, because who would do that in front of a sergeant? You're putting him in a bad situation, right, in a bad position, and you're not supposed to do that. But who knows? I still don't think that. I feel bad for that cop. I know probably what was going on in his mind. We were saying, Ron, before you got on, how many times you see somebody throw a nightstick, a flashlight, a radio. You hit a guy with your car when he's running away. You open the door and whack him, or and if they died, you'd be in jail. And it was never your intention to kill anybody. I'm sure it wasn't this sergeant's intention to kill somebody either. I will tell you what, though, as a boss, and you got a team, you kind of got to step up. And before you go out, so you talk about training, right, Rob? We were talking about training, right? And we don't get it. That's all bullshit. Your training is your experience and the older people and your bosses that bring you up. That's your training. So you're the boss and you're responsible for these guys, and you tell them, we're not going to do this. If a guy runs, don't put your stuff on the line. Think of it, because they're not thinking of it. They're not told this. They're not thinking. You got to make them think. You got to put this in their head. We chase people. We we go to extreme measures for extreme things. We don't do a car chase because a guy went through a red light and thereby kill 3 people. Don't do it. And I know, and you got to listen. All of us want to do it. We've all done it. You got to catch them. You start acting on instinct. But once you're a little older and a little more experienced, and you're a boss, it's incumbent upon you to tell your people, don't do this. You're gonna hurt yourself. Don't do it. I want you to think. I don't want you to. It's like, remember when you'd say slow it down and no further, and guys would still be coming lights and sirens like crazy.
Yeah.
And sometimes have an accident. Well, why do you say no further? It's not because you don't want them there. It's because you don't want them to get hurt. There it is. And I should tell my guys, if I tell you slow it down, I want lights and sirens off. If you want to come by, you can still come by. You're not going fast. And if I say no further, I want you to resume patrol. It's for you. And I want you to have some discipline. And once you made them think about it, once you told them that, and you had to tell them a few times, they started doing it. And why were you doing it? Were you being a hard boss? No, you were caring about your people. And I think it's incumbent upon bosses to. Sometimes it's uncomfortable. Sometimes it's unpopular. Sometimes you guys are going to call you, a piece of shit or whatever. But at the end of the day, you're saving their ass, and you got to think about that. So.
Oh yeah, how many times did you, when a pursuit was going on, you tried to get on the radio, or the duty captain would come on, and everybody would step on them and stuff, and just so they couldn't call it off, right? They couldn't call the pursuit off.
No.
But everybody knew what they were doing, so yeah.
But if you were a decent boss and you tried to treat your cops well and they trusted you, and you tell them, listen, when I call it off, if I call a pursuit, I want you to stop. I'm not kidding around. I want you to stop. It's for you. And when I call you off, I expect you to stop. That's it. And they would. You had to work on it, but they would.
And you knew when the pursuit was going bad, when they were going like, I'm going down 2nd Avenue, I'm on 59th, 56th, 57th, it went that you could tell by the voice and stuff. So
and when in doubt, right? When in doubt, the safety of your people and the public comes first. And you wouldn't let your child put on a blindfold, your 4-year-old, and walk into the street. Right? You got to stop your cops from doing the same thing to their career. You have to care about them. Yeah. So
people don't realize that. A lot of times when we as supervisors step in, we're saving you from yourself, and that's what your partner should be doing. That's what everybody should be doing for each other.
Yeah.
But it doesn't take just a boss. It's hard. And grab somebody and give them, just give them that second to fucking disconnect.
Sometimes it's hard for cops to do it because they're going to be thought of as, you're liberal, you're on the perp side. They're kind of like caught between a rock and a hard place. They don't want to get that reputation of being anti-cop or being whatever. And the boss has to realize that, and so you have to step in and do it. You got to take the cop off. I don't know, Ronnie. I know you came to the borough when you were a captain, but I remember telling captains a lot of times, you're gonna be faced with decisions, and your first inclination is going to be to try to help the cop. And this is what we said before you came on. I would tell them, but I don't want you to do a good thing for a bad person. There's a difference between somebody who made a mistake of the heart and somebody who just, is bad. A person makes a mistake of the heart. You do everything you can to try to fix it. They didn't have bad intentions. They didn't, break any egregious laws. And I would tell them, if you don't, it's hard. It's not easy to do. This is our culture. It's hard to discipline a cop, or it's very hard because nobody's going to want to talk to you. You're the boss. That's a scumbag forever and ever, right? But I would tell them, here's my number. You call me if you don't know. You don't even have to tell me names. Just say, whatever you want to call me, Chief Mike, whatever. Can I ask your opinion? This is what I'm faced with. Don't tell me names, and I'll tell you honestly what I think you should do. Now, if you can't make a decision, then you can tell me names, and I'll make the decision for you. You can blame it on me, because they'll throw their careers away, And sometimes we do good things for bad people. You got to learn the difference. Everybody, listen, cops are great people. Cops that work and that do their jobs and care are special people. But not everybody on the job is a cop. You got cops and you got civil servants, and you got some people where their interests and their concerns override everything else. They're just not good people. And I don't believe this sergeant was a bad guy. I think he just reacted, and I think nobody's sorrier than him and the guys on the scooter's family, I guess, that happened, because that poor cop. I mean, he's done. He lost his job. I would bet that he's going to jail, and that's a damn shame. And let me tell you what, a cop in jail doesn't have a good time. So that poor bastard, I hope they keep him in solitary or something to keep him segregated, which again is no fun either. You're all by yourself. Now you're isolated.
Like a double punishment right there now, right? You put him in solitary and you put him in jail.
Yeah, but it's better than the alternative.
I know.
Yeah. Nazi Ryan was a cop that went to jail in the Bronx, and he's a big boy and strong, and guys would bring him cigarettes and stuff like that, and they put him in general population too, and he was always missing teeth and always banged up, but he was tough. I mean, he held his own, but man, I don't know whatever happened to him, but he was not having a good time. They're not exactly rolling out the welcome mat for you. So.
Who was the sergeant in the 19th that was drunk and ran over a couple people in the sidewalk?
It was going home from the parade or something.
Yeah, they were drinking from the St. Patrick's Day parade, I think, and they literally went up. I think he was driving too. They went up on the curb and killed somebody. Yep. He ended up going to jail. Actually, he ended up dying of AIDS. I guess that he contracted in jail. So
either in jail or before. I mean, either or. Listen, they had the guy in one of the Queens precincts years ago with the stun gun, not the taser, the actual gun, and he was in the cell. He went in, I mean, the guy had those taser marks, the burn marks, all over him. I mean, this guy stunned him up damn good, and he went. And there was another guy. He went to the St. Patty's Day parade, and he was driving home.
QC Beast was Sherman. Remember, it was Sergeant Sherman was the name I'm talking about.
That was him. Him. And there was another guy who was going home with his partner off duty after the parade. They were drinking at the parade, and he shot his partner in the stomach with a gun. I don't know whether it was an accident, whether they had a drunken argument. So, I mean, what do you do with that? So now you're the boss that goes on that. What do you? How do you save this guy? How do you save Sherman that ran a guy over and he's obviously drunk?
Right.
What do you do? It's a horrible situation as a boss to be in too, because you don't want to have to make that kind of decision, but you have to make it, and you have to make the right one, because there's other people that are involved, and if you make the wrong one, they're going to go down the shitter too.
Yeah.
And you got to tell them, listen, you're going to sit here and you're going to tell them, you're going to assign what you saw. There's no way of getting out of this, and I'm not.
What? Like the problem is I think Phil, the heater guy, was saying, how can you compare the sergeant with the cooler to a drunk who ran people over? I think the comparison is nobody's saying that the sergeant Duran is not wrong. What we're saying is you're responsible for your actions, and the job isn't going to back you. And they're going to hold you to it.
I think what Phil means is, the guy that ran somebody over was obviously very culpable. His actions, drinking, driving like a lunatic. I think they were like messing around with the microphone too, teasing people and shit, as opposed to a guy who was just doing his job. He reacted quickly, instinctively, and it went bad. And on that, it doesn't.
I mean, no, I mean there is a comparison when I say that the fact that they're both supervisors, they're held to a little bit of a higher standard. So your actions have to be, you're responsible too.
Yeah.
You have to be a little bit more responsible. That's your job as a supervisor.
Well, you got to realize something too. So now you're a sergeant, right? And you're out, and maybe you smack a guy. And, the guys that are working for you, he smacked, I can punch him. He smacked him, I can punch him. You go up the ranks, and they become a captain or something or higher. You smack the guy, you guys are going to shoot him. They're going to amplify whatever you do. You're right, Rob. You have to try to be better and a little more disciplined, because what you do, they're going to do, and they're going to do more. He's in on it. This is good. We can do this now. As hard as it is, you have to try to stay, you have to try to lead by example. You have to try to be better and obey the rules as much as you can, because otherwise, you're putting your guys in jeopardy,
Right.
Yeah. And sometimes you're not going to be the popular guy, I mean, no. I don't know if they have a lieutenant, those narcotics guys, if they was working with him, and somebody earlier on had said, well, if you were on the scene, he was asking me, would you have reprimanded him if you saw it? Probably verbally. Honestly, probably not on paper. If that guy just fell down.
You're saying if you saw the sergeant throw the cooler and he missed, you would have.
No, even if he hit him, I'm going to tell you honestly, even if he hit him, the guy went down, but he didn't get hurt, and he's locked up.
Right.
I'm probably going to grab the sergeant aside and say, listen, he could have got fucking killed. What you did. I mean, think about it. Why'd you do it? What was it over? A dime bag of coke? Think about what you just did. Think about the example you just gave your guys. If you throw a cooler at them, they're going to throw a friggin' cow at them. You know what I mean? I mean, but they are. They're going to, you tell the sergeant, think about what could have happened. What if that guy would have got hurt bad? You'd be arrested.
Right.
You'd be arrested. So now that's afterwards in your scene. You have time to think about it, and you have time to tell him. And I tell you what, if you pulled him aside and told him that like that, and he's a decent guy, that would never happen again. He'd go, oh my God, I lucked out, and he's right. And holy shit, I could be in jail. So
yeah, no, I mean, sometimes all you got to do is steer the ship in the right direction. Yeah. Right? You don't have to sink it. You don't have to throw bombs at it and sink it. All you do is steer it in the right direction, and the next thing you know, it's running smoothly again. So
yeah, would I put them on paper? No, I honestly don't think I would have.
Paper doesn't work.
Well, I tell you what. But now what if Campisi found out that you saw it as a boss, and that now you're putting your shit on the line for him. But
but Campisi was looked to kill anybody he could. So
he had no love lost for me. But
no.
But the truth is, no, I don't think I would have written him up. I think I would have talked to him and maybe even called him a couple times in the next few weeks. Hey, remember what I said? You have responsibility to your guys. That could have been bad. What about your family? You could be in jail. Your kids on the street, no pension. Think about this. But we've been there, and we're older, and we understand that, yes, you're human. Yes, you have emotions. Yes, we've all done stuff like that. If you think about all the times you did stuff, hitting the guy on the bike with the car. Well,
yeah, I know.
He could have went under a bus.
All we can say, what happened to Erik Duran is his luck ran out that day, because that's all of us. Things that we did on the street when we looked to apprehend perps, it was luck. Like John and Eric and Marlon had said, we're not trained in this, we're not trained in that. A pillow could have killed that guy.
And there is no training. I don't care. They could take you. First of all, this whole thing about we're going to train guys. No, you're not. Listen,
for a week, there's no way.
Listen, and what does a week do anyway? All right. Nothing. They sit there and it's more of take a break. You get more of that. Then take a break, take a break, take a break. Get anything else, right? And they're sleeping, and who's just they're just hoping maybe they can get a little overtime out of it, which is something we could talk about. That I can't believe I read that thing you sent, Ron. That overtime notice about they can't. That's insane.
We'll get into that for a second.
Yeah.
I'm going to take an unpopular position here. I'm sorry.
Not you. Stop it.
Listen, it is what it is. Listen, I learned a lot from you as a rookie captain. You broke me in. You broke a lot of the young captains in. I have always, as an executive, done what I thought was the best thing in the best interest for the member and the department by doing the right thing and doing the right thing. Any of the PBA, DEA, SBA will tell you if their guys got involved in something, they were happy that I had the duty because I wasn't going to take any shortcuts. I was going to look into it. We all know as executives, Rob and I have talked about this in the past, that a lot of times executives take the shortcut, take the easy way, because it's a lot easier to modify or suspend somebody than it is to take your time, look into it, and make a decision and stand by that decision. Because as the captain and or the inspector, I was never a chief. So, because for those who don't know, the captain and the inspector only make a recommendation for a duty status change, unless it's a must suspend situation. The duty chief is the one that gives the authority. So you're going to give a recommendation, and you're going to justify your recommendation from the findings of your initial investigation. And initial investigation is the key to what I'm going to say here, because I have been involved in hundreds of incidences, off-duty instances, on-duty instances, investigations. As an executive, I got promoted to captain, back in 2003. So I spent, more time as an executive on the job than I did at any other rank, right? And I always tried, I did the same as you, Mike, when I became a senior executive, right? One of my things that I did was mentor the junior captains. And that was one of my biggest things, is take the time, don't take the shortcut. The member deserves the benefit of your time, because your decision is going to have harsh ramifications on his life, his family, and his career. Don't take the shortcuts.
No.
I always explained that it's difference, okay? That there's a difference between suspending somebody and modifying somebody, or just disciplining somebody, whether it's on paper or verbally or whatever. And the way I always looked at it is, if you're going to modify somebody, what you're doing is you're taking them and giving them a big timeout, because I can't conduct a proper and complete investigation to make an ultimate determination and or recommendation at this time. The job needs more time to look at it and look deeper into it and make a true determination on what the outcome of this investigation should be. And a suspension would be, if the guy's collared, you really don't have much of a choice, even though that's not a must suspend. And I can get into examples of when I fought not to suspend people that were actually collared. But, that's when you feel, you got, this person needs to be taken out of commission completely, right? For the benefit and the safety and looking out for the job. Because as executives, you got to remember, yes, we're taking care of our members. We're looking out for the membership. We're working, but we're also an agent of the city, and we have to look out for the city and the police department as well. I'm going to take an unpopular opinion against pretty much everybody else that's spoken about it. And I honestly, listen, we all say it, police work is not pretty. Police work, when you're looking at it, is ugly. I'm a big proponent. I talk about Graham v. Connor all the time, the reasonableness of an officer without the ability to have 20/20 hindsight, all of that. That's all after the fact. What we are doing when we're doing an initial investigation is we are critiquing it. We're looking at whatever evidence that we could bring into play at the time. My personal opinion, and this isn't to say anything about anybody else's opinion, again, because this is my perspective. This is my opinion, my perspective from my career, my experiences, and everything else. I'm not saying anybody else's perspective is wrong. I'm not saying mine is right. I'm telling you what I personally think that night I probably would have modified the sergeant because of the severity of the incident, the questions that surrounded it. Do I think he needs to go to jail? I don't. Do I think that he should have been convicted of manslaughter? I don't. But as far as department-wise, I don't know what the outcome and what the ramifications of discipline should be. I'm not going to get that deep into it. I don't know all the intricacies or anything like that. But I just think that the totality of the circumstances of the initial scene, for me, would have been enough to say, we got to take this guy out of commission, and the job needs more time. And not just the job, the DA's office, because of the death, and the integrity DA would have to get involved in everything else. And they need more time to do a deep dive into this incident to see which way it's going to go. I don't know what the final outcome would be. I don't know what, after looking at all the evidence from a true investigation would be. That's just, I know it's an unpopular opinion, but I'm here to give my honest opinion, my unfiltered opinion, and my executive opinion.
I don't think you had a choice with that guy. There was no. Now you're right. You should think about it, and we, all three of us, know there are bosses. The easiest thing in the world to do.
Oh yeah, let somebody else worry about it later on.
Is to suspend, because you're safe. You're never going to be second guessed. You're never going to be questioned. The hard thing is not to, and I think a lot of people don't realize that when you do that, you are putting your career on the line as a boss, because all you need is for somebody high up there to get angry at you, personally angry at you for doing it. They got very angry at me for Mike Piggott. I got thrown under the bus. Marino didn't even want to suspend him because I didn't think he should have been modified. So, and but I was never disrespectful to bosses, but no, Mike didn't do anything wrong, and I just couldn't understand why you need to do this. You could put him on administrative duty in the field. You didn't have to change his duty status.
See, the problem is there are bosses on the job, some of which we've worked with, that will modify and suspend, like Ron just said.
It's easier.
For the fact that they don't want to get questioned the next day. They don't. I've had people call me and say, "Hey, we're going to suspend this guy," and I said, "Well, you're not even at the scene, and you don't even know what's going on. So how are you telling me to suspend somebody?"
Yeah.
Let me tell you why we're not suspending. How about that? If you're able to push back on these idiots that tell you you got to do this, you got to do that, and they're not even there on the scene, then do that, because that's the main thing. Somebody calling you, somebody doing that, and I agree, Ron. I don't see why why you wouldn't have suspended that. I'm sorry, modified that sergeant that night. Yeah, based on the facts. Based on the stuff that we don't know, you couldn't complete a whole investigation there. You knew things were, there you have somebody that's unfortunately passed away. Yes, a criminal, but either way, it's somebody's son, somebody's family member. So yeah, I'm not saying that there shouldn't have been a modification that night. Absolutely, because it's gonna take, And here's the other thing.
I don't think you had a choice with that. Yeah.
Well, and the other thing is, I always say, think about the mental status of the sergeant at the time, right? So you have to think about that. Removal of the firearms at that point, for their own safety and everything else isn't bad. So somebody goes through that. That's a tragic thing to go through. So there's a couple factors there, and I'm not saying that I would not have modified the person as well. But I like the Phil the Heater guy, talks about. He goes, let's remember that they're releasing cop killers on parole now for supposed to be, life in prison without parole. Cop killers, pendulum swung, and now they're indicting a cop and going to sentence a cop, which we believe possibly to jail for doing something where he was going to all he was looking to do was to stop the perpetrator. So and then look, they increased his no bail, but all of a sudden they increased his bail because he was convicted. So, and earlier in the chat, it was mentioned that, hopefully on appeal, and I agree, hopefully on appeal, and maybe you could take it to that jury trial, Mike, that you spoke about. Maybe you could take it to, a better judge and win that appeal,
Well,
because I don't think his, I don't even know if it was recklessly. He was trying to stop the guy, so.
Well, on appeal, unfortunately, he's going to go in front of a panel of judges. And
Yeah.
listen, I understand 100% what he did. And I also understand that we all do stuff like that. And I also understand, unfortunately, if it comes out, if the wheel stops on you, you're going to answer for it. What grounds of an appeal? I mean, the guy is on a scooter going quickly. You throw, I don't think he meant to hit him in the head, but he did hit him in the head. I think he probably meant to scare him and just make him stop. And it just, it was just a bad chain of events. That's what I think. But in any event, the guy does die. So here's a guy on a motorcycle. It's okay. So you're on a motorcycle and you're going under an overpass, and I throw a rock down on you. That's reckless. And this is kind of the same thing, right? What your intention is at that point, I guess, if you're going to talk about murder as opposed to manslaughter or something like that, I guess intent counts. But at the end of the day, listen, I feel bad for the guy. He made a decision in the blink of an eye. I don't think he would win it on appeal. Maybe if he appeals a sentence, if he gets time, and maybe if he appeals a sentence, and maybe some judge will go, listen, the guy's been a cop, and we could put him on probation. I mean, Jesus, the guy's been done 18 years. He's locked up so many guys. He's good at the community and all that. Should he really go to jail? Because he didn't mean to kill him. No. He didn't even mean to hurt him. He just meant to stop him. It just went sideways.
Yeah.
That's all it is. But I don't think the conviction. I don't. Honestly, I mean, I wish he could too, but I don't see how you can possibly overturn that conviction. Now, another judge is going to say this judge got it wrong when they see the tape and everything. And again, his answer was, I thought he was going to hit one of my other cops. Well, I don't know. I definitely would have won jury trial. I guess if I'm his defense, I bring up other cops, street cops who've been there and said, no, it happens fast, and you just wanted to lock him up. You just wanted to stop him. He wasn't thinking that. I've done that. Listen, you're getting a shooting. I remember the first one I got in, and I was kind of like hiding and shooting and hoping my bang was bigger than his bang. He went away. The thought of hitting him, I mean, it's. So what if you?
Mike, you're all chopped up.
Oh, how about now?
Can you hear me?
Good. Yeah. How about now? Hold on.
I can hear him, Ron.
How we doing now? Yes, no? No?
I can hear you, Mike. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah, I got you. Yeah, sometimes I got a bad spot.
Yeah.
Sometimes I got a bad spot in my office. Yeah. So, well, I guess we kind of beat that one half to death, right?
Yeah, no. It's not much left on that.
Maybe it's me. I'm going to jump out and jump back in because I'm getting breaking up and getting like reverb and breakup.
Yeah,
I think it's you, definitely. Yeah.
All right, that's me. I'm going to jump out.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll be right back.
Mike, and then we talk about that Tish, John and Eric and Marlon did a great job breaking down Tish's state of the union address for the NYPD.
Yeah.
Talking about a week of training, and we spoke about this, and I mentioned in the chat today. You remember every time that we the range cycle, they'd have to extend the range cycle because they couldn't get everybody in.
Not enough points.
They couldn't get everybody in. They have to extend it. So now you're going to tell me you're going to take people offline for 5 days and train them. Where are you going to train them? What are you going to train them in? Logistically, I don't think it could happen. I mean, the Madami's saying no overtime, cut overtime. So are they not going to give them on overtime? So these guys are going to get trained a week, or is it going to be like 1 day here, 1 day there? Well, I just don't think they're going to be able to accomplish this.
If you couldn't train them when we got the 9s in 95, when they couldn't manage to get it done. There was like 42,000 cops or something, right? We were tripping over each other.
Right. Yep.
If you couldn't manage to get it done then,
No.
and they say there's 35,000 cops, I'm going to throw the bullshit flag on that.
No, definitely.
Because they're short. I mean, everybody you talk to, there's only 2 cars working, 3 cars, you can't get a day off. The squads are hurting. Narcotics needs people. I mean, everywhere you look, they're short. I bet you active cops actually working, not running time. I bet you there's 25,000.
Yeah, I had rumors about 25 to 27,000.
I'm saying 25 because the worst I ever saw was around 19. And I'm not there now. I can't say, you know, but from talking to people that I still talk to, it doesn't seem to be quite that bad yet. Remember the 9 squad shot?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the precinct I worked in, I was in the 2-8. In the 9 squad shot, all the cops combined in the 9 squad shot, it was 42 cops. That was it. I mean, we had nights when you didn't have a patrol or a desk sergeant. It was insane. And, you know, that's how bad it was. We made it work. See, that's another thing. Police work isn't an exact science, and it's really a system that's not designed to work. And what do? Those of us that actually care and want to do it, we make a system that's not designed to work because it's really not designed to work.
Oh,
and this sergeant is a victim of that. He's making it work, and I don't care how much they train you. If anybody can sit there and tell you, oh, you can address every single situation, you will. You won't. You absolutely can't.
No,
because you're dealing with humans. It's changing all the time. You are improvising. You're running on the fly more often than not with everything.
Marlon mentioned earlier, you cannot train for every friggin' scenario that you come across.
You can't do it. It's absolutely impossible. And
it's impossible. What I used to say all the time, you know, and I learned this when I was studying for, you know, my supervisor's promotions, right? What's the patrol guide? It's a guide. If it doesn't say that you cannot do it and it's not illegal, there's nothing that says that you can do it. That says you. If it doesn't say that it's forbidden and you can't do it and it's not illegal, then it's in your arsenal and it's something that you could do.
Except then you get a bunch of people like us that'll sit together with a cup of coffee with our name on it, you know, because that's the uniform of the day in one police plaza and a piece of paper, right? And you're going to sit there and because look at me, hear me, see me. I got something to say because they want to impress their boss. So we're going to come up with these stupid shit. We're going to listen to it 40 times. Well, you could have, you would have, you should have, you might have, you could have, but I would have. Unfortunately, the poor guy and the girl on the street that's like just shaving their ass real quickly doesn't have all of that. They're just doing it. And God bless them because without them, all these people, the panels that look at stuff and they come up with suggestions and they make the plans and the training things, they're full of shit. They don't make the job work. They're just looking for the next promotion and they don't want to piss anybody off. The poor guy on the street.
Mike, earlier you mentioned the 9 squad chart, and I agree with how Housing for Life mentioned it. The 9 squad chart, right? You got to work with everybody in the command.
You did,
right? So you knew everybody. You knew it was definitely a tighter group. Was it healthier? No. You know, if you remember the 9 squad chart, after doing midnights, they put you on a week of days. Like that was the most stupidest, ludicrous thing I ever did.
Yeah, well, it was. You know, it was a week of days, week of 4 to 12s, week of days, back to back 4 to 12s, and then midnight.
Right, and then you went into day tours. Then after that,
and the days off ran. And the days off ran 2-3-3, 2-3-2.
And then I think there was steady platoon, you know, midnight steady platoon guys.
The D squad, because it was
right.
only one.
You moved into that, and you knew everybody, and that's how you moved around the precinct. I mean, you literally had great groups of guys, and you knew who was good, who wasn't. Now it's all these separate, you know, squads. You know, one, you know, second and you know, third and first platoon. It kind of broke away everybody, and I don't know if that was something done to stop corruption or anything else. But what it is, you know, they claimed it was healthier for you.
Yes, they did it after the Modeling Commission.
Right.
They recommended that. They recommended college, which really is neither here nor there to be a police officer. Some of the smartest guys that I worked with, the best guys, cops, when I came on, they were all Vietnam vets. All of them have been injured too in Vietnam. Every damn one of them was collecting, everyone that I knew, they were collecting a percentage of disability. Some of them had to give up some because the job capped it. Like it was capped at 20. And you had 40, you had to give up 20 to get on the job. And they did. And these guys were, oh my God, they were just unbelievable on the street. They knew stuff. But you did. You all knew each other, and so they recommend college, which we started getting people that never worked before. They didn't know anything about the real world. They recommended study tours. They adopted that. There was some integrity shit, which they adopted all that. And their other recommendation, which they just completely ignored, was that we should get more money. They completely ignored that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. That didn't work, right?
Yeah. But I don't know. I mean, I did steady midnights for 13 years. I made sergeant and CO. I was a new sergeant. He volunteered me, and for the next 13 years, I was on midnights. So you make it work. I liked the 9-squad shot. I was a young guy, and
I did too.
You liked. There was always something different. You all saw each other. You're right.
Yeah.
You had
I
favorites.
loved working with the midnight guys. That's what brought me to midnights. When they went to the steady charts, I knew that the midnight guys were the guys that really worked the hardest, and I learned the most. Because I remember Mike Greeny, who became I think a first grade detective, and Roger Monaco, a couple of names. They would tell you if you rode with them on the day, right? Because your partner was off, they tell you, why are you rolling up your window? I said, because I'm freaking cold. Why? No, we keep the windows down. We don't turn on the radio.
Yeah.
AM, it was AM that time, right? We didn't even have AM, FM radios.
They
said, keep the AM radio off and you listen. You listen to what's going on. You look,
right.
And that's how you find stuff. And those are some great cops that taught us how to be, cops later on in our lives. So
yeah. And well, I didn't even have AM when I came on. I'm an old man. We had no radios in the cars at all. But but yes, you had to keep to this day, I like a window open when I'm driving. It came to be a habit. You could hear stuff. They were right about that. Yeah. Oh, they were great. They were great cops.
Yeah.
They didn't talk to you so much.
No, just like whoever dog was just barking in the background, that would have been a cue that somebody's trying to do a burglary, right? I don't know, Mike, if that's your dog or whatever, but that would have cued you up if you were driving around, right? You hear a window glass break, a window open, a dog barking. Those are all the cues,
Yeah. Well, it's I think a lot of it, on the thing today with John and Eric, and they were talking about the morale, which nobody talked about. And John and Eric are right about that. The morale is horrible, but it's horrible because so many of us bosses are so full of shit. Like you looked at what happened in the previous administration with what was going on at Police Plaza. That's probably one of the worst administrations I ever saw in my life. That was an absolute clown show. Everybody got in trouble. Everybody was guilty. And a couple of those guys I really liked. And it's like, oh my God, what the hell were you thinking? It was bad. Everybody was out for himself. When you have a former police inspector and he's on tape going, "Where's my crumbs? Everybody's getting. I'm not getting my crumbs." I mean, are you kidding me? It was fucking horrible. And the nepotism, it was disgusting. And it was very, the bids going out to somebody's. Well, I'm not part of that company anymore. Yeah, yes, you are. Yes, you are. Be honest. Please, you don't tell me you didn't get anything for that. That's wrong. And then bosses are full of shit. It's do as I do, I do as I say, not as I do. You have to walk the walk. I think it's more incumbent upon a boss to try to walk the walk straighter than a cop. Like you might let a cop come in half an hour late and you let him slide. But if you come in a half an hour late, you should change that in the book and you should sign in a half an hour later. You have to lead by example, and you have to try to treat your cops with respect and care and ask them to work. And I think if you do that, but you got to lead by example. How can their morale be good? How can their morale be good after all the shit that's been going on up in Police Plaza? Nobody gets in trouble. I mean, people should have went to fucking jail for some of that.
Yeah,
shit.
absolutely.
And nobody gets in trouble, and the poor cop is getting yelled at, and now they go, oh, you can only work this amount. Yeah, let me tell you something. I read one of the things in the overtime run, right, about if you make a collar on the 3rd platoon, at the end of your tour, they're going to give it to
Somebody else, yeah.
yeah. Well, you know
Yeah.
what? That's been tried. It hasn't. That's not going to work. You know why it's not going to work? Because the cop's going to go down to ECAB and go, well, they say, what happened? I don't know. They gave me the collar.
Yeah.
You have to call that guy back in anyway. And now he's going to go, the arresting officer's got to go. Now, grand jury, everybody's in grand jury and overtime. It doesn't work. So let's look at this. We'll look at it one at a time. All commands to reduce operational overtime by 50%. How the fuck are you going to do that? They're flying these guys all over the place. There's not enough cops. They're working. All the guys that are going to transit, that's overtime. How are you going to do this? All details within commands must be covered by the precinct concerned at straight time. Well,
How's that going to happen?
How is that going to happen?
It's not. I can't.
I guess nobody. Well,
nobody's on patrol.
You cancel all details. Nobody's on patrol. Arrest made within the last 3 hours of it will be processed by the next tour. Yeah, that'll be great. Except that the DA is going to have a hard time with that when nobody knows anything, and then they can't get the guy on the phone. Now you get letting perps out because we don't know. So
what if you only have 4 sectors going out on the next platoon and you got 4 collars? You just cut your sectors down to 2.
What we used to do is this a little bit. If it was really short, and you guys made some collars, you'd say, listen, guys, you got to do me a favor. If we make collars, you can process it quick, put them in the cells. You're going to have to bring them down to court after the tour is over. I can't let you go. And now everybody's getting overtime.
Yeah.
But again, well, what do I tell the public when their kid goes out and gets killed? Well, where are all the cops? They're all in college. Well, what does that mean? What is sign and seal overtime? Does anybody know what that is?
That's when you're in the narcotics, or when it used to be SNU in the precinct.
Okay.
And the boss has to stay behind and sign and seal all the narco envelopes.
Okay. All right. So in other words, so why can't somebody else do it, right? I mean, I remember when working a desk as a sergeant, and then housing then didn't process their own evidence and stuff, and they would bring it into us, and we would process it for them. I mean, they had to do it, but we would sign it, and the overtime and all of that. And I remember, you had to sometimes train them because they really weren't taught in that. Their vouchers were wrong and all that stuff. So it hasn't been confirmed. I don't know. Has this confirmed? Is this confirmed, Ron?
No, it's not.
No, that was just rumors that were floating around on X.
Right.
Yeah, this went out on X after the confirmed reduction in overtime for the month of February, and that it allegedly didn't come from the mayor's office or city hall, that it's coming from 1PP. But this is one of those things that gets circulated around, where these are the heavy rumors that are coming on. So,
okay.
These are rumors. But like you said, every one of these has been discussed in the past, right? Reducing operational overtime by 50%, that's never really, I've never even heard 50%. You
can't do that. No.
Reducing operational overtime, that's next to impossible. Details to be covered by the precinct concerned. You precinct commander, they always want you to use what you have first, then tell us what you can't cover because you have minimum manning issues, and then they'll have to fly other people in to cover the details. There's no way to cover a detail within your command by yourself, right? Like you talked about. Turnover.
It depends upon the size of the detail. If it's big enough, I was going to handle it and send people in. I mean, there's nothing you could do. You can't make a silk purse out of a sow's ear. We can't go abracadabra. There's more cops. The fact is, I really think there's 25,000 cops and that's it, and that ain't enough. And
I want to know what you guys think about them splitting the Bronx into 2 different boroughs.
I think they could do it, but I think they should do it east-west, not north and south, because if you go to the north,
doesn't it seem odd though that will be there's only 10 commands in there? That would be one of the only boroughs that have a minimal amount of commands. Other
than Brooklyn North, the the Bronx, you know, pound for pound or per person, or however you want to say it, is pretty busy.
I think Manhattan North and Manhattan South both have like over 10 commands each.
I think they have 10 each.
Yeah,
And
and so
if I'm
why
not
would
wrong,
why would you split the Bronx then? You know,
Brooklyn North has 10, and Brooklyn South, I think, is 13. Staten Island, of course, only has 4. You know what? It covers a big area. Like they were talking today about, well, maybe they should take the 4 or 5 and split it in half. If I was going to split the Bronx, I wouldn't do it north and south, because, you know, one is going to be, the north is going to be a lot easier than the south. The south would be all the concentration of stuff like Brooklyn North kind of is, except for a couple of, you know, the 8-4 is pretty good. The 8-8 is kind of quiet. But, you know, for the most part, you're rocking and rolling a little bit. You know what it is? It's because the Bronx is the only borough, I think, that's up in crime. Now, I don't believe all of that either. I'd like to, we all hear stories about, yeah, the guy broke into the house and the boss told me I charged him with criminal trespass and petty larceny, which is a burglary, right? I'd like to be able to do an audit on a bunch of things where all the manpower is, all right? Because if they do have, even if they do have 25,000 cops, and they might be assigned to precincts on paper, but they're not. You know, they did a lot of telephone. Somebody rumored that the first step had like 19 drivers. I mean, are you fucking kidding me? You know, admin people are important. I never thought they were. I always kind of resented them until I was a precinct commander and realized that, well, I
don't know where they're getting those people, though.
I get Leo's point here. Yes, you know, yes, because you are actually aware of what they did and you're signing off. And yes, the desk officer sometimes wasn't aware, and yes, sometimes they did break your guys' balls. So all your points are valid. So you're right. But you know, you became aware that you needed these admin people, and you can't cut down to the bones because people do go on vacation. They do go sick. So you need, but you should make sure all your admin people are cross-trained, so that roll call can do this and this, so that when there are people out, you can move people around without unnecessarily depleting your street resources, because there's nothing more important than your boots on the ground. You want to get more cops on the street tomorrow? Why are there, I don't know, like 13 or 14 3-star chiefs when it used to be for 5? When there's 18, get rid of them. There are now, you know, chiefs doing jobs that captains used to do. And Chris Monahan would kill me if you heard me saying this. And I love Chris. He's head of the captain's union. It's too top heavy. You don't need it. And I know it makes people happy, and somehow Police Plaza thinks if you make more bosses, things are going to get better. If the bosses are good, maybe they get better. But not if they're like the bosses you had in the last administration, they're getting better. You know, you got to try to get as efficient as you can. And the game starts in the street. So, and that's always the one who gets screwed the most. You know, you need more people on the street. I'd start there. Then I'd like to do an audit on 61s. I'd like to do an audit on personnel. I'd like to do an audit on overtime. See, I wonder how much of really nice overtime is going to the building, where the shit overtime goes to the precincts. Because I saw that in the boroughs. I said, no, you got to give this out to everybody. You don't take all of this. You take the good overtime. You got to take care of the guys and girls on the street first. That's how you improve morale. That's how you get things done. And they trust you and like you and do the silly things that we ask them to do. They believe in us, and crime starts to go down. Do you really believe that Bronx is the only borough where crime is down? I mean, up?
No, that's the only one was probably reporting it up.
There you go. There you go, Rob. There you go. That'd be my first thought. Although I know Charlie McAvoy had Brooklyn South, and Charlie McAvoy's on the money. I mean, I would, if he told me it is, I would take that to church and to the bank. But I don't know. And Charlie McAvoy may not know what his precinct commanders are doing, because they feel pressured, right? You know?
Yeah.
So
I personally, I don't see the benefit. Like you said, it's going to be duplication. It's going to be increased executive staffing. increased administrative staffing. She says it's going to bring 200 more cops to the borough of the Bronx.
Why can't you do that? Why can't you do that without splitting the borough?
100%. 100%. So you're saying that you need 2 homicide squads, right? But Queens only has 1 homicide squad that covers both the north and the south. I'm not sure what Brooklyn does, and I'm not sure what Manhattan does. If you need more people in Bronx homicide, put more people in Bronx homicide. You don't need a Bronx homicide north and a Bronx homicide south. You don't need more Q teams, right? If you need more people in Q teams, you don't need then increase the borough Q team if that's what you're saying.
What's that? Is that a quality of life run?
Yeah.
311?
Yeah, the conditions team, Mike. It's a rebranded conditions team.
All right. Well, listen,
All it is.
that whole thing about making a 311 unit is completely stupid, because all you do then is, first of all, you don't have the people to do it. Second, the 311 people won't be doing police work. Remember Topac?
Yeah, I know. The other police are coming.
That's exactly right. The acronym for that, Ron, was the other police are coming. Because you call them, they go, no, the other cops are coming. We don't do
I
that.
Experienced it though. Mike, I was in a car with a guy from Topac doing my NSU, and we went to the 4-7. And 4-7 is a very busy house. I mean, guys are saying it in the chat. I agree 100%. The 4-7 is somewhat of a shit show up there. So, but we rolled up on a robbery, and the guy's like, I just got robbed.
Yeah.
And the guy I was with, he didn't want to do anything. He's like, all right, well, the 4-7's going to be coming, and they can take the report for you, and we're going to go canvas around and stuff. And I was like, why don't we just take the report for the guy? And he's like, no, just we're going to go. And he was driving, so he just drove off and left him.
Yeah. And all you do, it's like when you had the original C-pop cops, you know. Yeah. And they sat in the house. You know, they were doing their beat books, or they were out doing whatever it is they were doing, but it wasn't police work, you know. And yeah, you're right about that. All the COs are now. Full inspectors were like in the borough. DI was the busy houses. Yeah. But those guys did nothing. And all you do is you create more separation and more specialization. How about this? It's your sector. You take care of everything in it. Here's
sector integrity, Mike. Sector integrity.
Yeah. I mean, listen.
But you know what, though? We had sector integrity, but we did. I gotta say, we had the manpower to do it. Where we could stay in our sector, we weren't running from one end of the precinct to the other for the next job because we only had a couple of cars. Yeah. When I was a cop in the 7-0, we put out 15 cars on a tour.
Oh my God, I never worked in a command with 15 cars, not even a 7-5.
You know?
Holy shit, you guys are good.
Yeah. Well, in my FTU, we had 50 cops. The next FTU, 50 cops. Next FTU, 50 cops. There's 150 cops put into the 7-0 in a year and a half.
But didn't the 7-0 also have? Well, first of all, wasn't that the Volpe thing, and they beefed it up? Was that the 7-0?
I got out with Volpe. Volpe was in my sister company in the academy.
Oh, okay. But you also had a pretty big, if I'm correct, you had a pretty big Jewish population.
Yeah, the south half of the command was.
Yeah, they tend to get a little more attention. They did then. I don't know that they still do now, but they did back then, right? And maybe that's had something to do with it. Maybe it didn't. After
Luima is when they moved the black officers into the command.
Oh yeah, that's right.
To better mesh with the command, and they all got 50 grand when they sued.
And boy, did the black cops hate that. Yeah, they hated that.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, we never stayed in our sectors, but you felt responsible for it, and you know, like you'd watch each other, like if there was a precinct barbecue and I was Adam and you were Boy. Well, when you went in, I'd do Adam and Boy. You know,
right.
we worked stuff out.
When you had sector integrity, you wouldn't, unless it was a priority job, you wouldn't let somebody pick up a bullshit job in your sector,
right? Just
because you were on a job,
right?
I'll throw that on my queue. Now guys are like, oh, I'm on a job. Whoever gets it gets it.
And it didn't have to be a steady sector either, because at times I was Adam, Boy, Charlie. The next I was David, Eddie, Frank. So whatever sector you had, you took care of your sector, and you're absolutely right. You could be on a bullshit, 10-11, and you know what? Some other job comes in, it's essential. Show me responding. Whatever you handled it.
No, they don't.
You can pick up multiple jobs.
No, Mr. Nolan, they don't work the wheel. everybody is the platoon commanders in 1995 or so. They put them on steady. No, I'm sorry, not 95. 1988, 89. They went on steady tours, and that was it. And that's actually the platoon commander concept, steady tours. Well, we usually, I mean, my guys would normally, thinking about it, usually more often than not, the majority of the time they had the same sectors, not all the time, but the majority of the time. And it's up to the boss, you know. Yeah, you'd have those guys. He's now the guy picked up a job, and no, those 3 jobs are mine. And the sergeant has to come on, listen, give those out to this other sector, because you know one car's picking up 5, and you got 2 available cars, and now people are waiting. So it became, you know, you were the boss, and you appreciated what they were doing.
Remember, Mike? Remember when you and Ron? Remember when you would pick up the job so a sector could go to meal?
Oh,
Yes.
as the boss.
Yeah.
How many nights I didn't get a meal, so my guys could get a meal?
Yeah.
Well,
100%.
that's a good boss. The guys eat first, then the sergeant, then the lieutenant. That's
Yep.
right. That's right. Anybody misses a meal, it's the guy making more money. That's right. Because you gotta feed and water the horses, because without them, the wagon stops.
And then the decent cops will pick the job up from the boss.
Right.
If they could. If they
Yeah,
could.
if they could,
If they
they
could.
grab it from
Like
them.
if they didn't pick up the job, and then the boss and then I go over the air, you know, 7-8 sergeant, you know, give me that meal. Let Adam go to meal. You know, unless everybody was on heavy jobs, Sector Charlie or Sector David should be saying, Central, give me that job from the boss.
Yeah.
And if they did, and you
Right.
realize they were on jobs too, you'd say,
Right.
no, it's okay. I got it. Because you appreciate
100%.
what they were doing for you. Yeah.
But I also think that the Bronx thing is just another way for Tish to put in 3 more executives too, because she could throw another 2-star in and 2 more
I don't-
1-stars.
I don't know that she's being that Machiavellian about it, Rob. Tish
You don't think so?
is-
She's probably got people she wants to hook up right now.
don't- yeah, but-
Madami says no more promotions.
Well, you can't. Well, you can't.
I just think it's all there.
I don't know.
I just think,
It-
or
it
she's going to
could-
dump people there, whatever.
It could be that, or it could be that, you know, she talks to chief that used to be. I think Kelly's still running a job through her. You know, she was counsel up there, because a lot of the things that she does are things that he did. Like
Right.
bringing all the transfers home to sign them on the weekend, and all that does is slow everything down to a crawl. You got good people working for you, right? And you tell your people, okay, Rob, you're doing this, Ron, you do this. Listen, you got the authority, and you know, you don't have to run everything by me. Just do it. We'll talk again in 2 weeks. If you have any questions, you're welcome to call me. Okay, and you know, that's what you do. Kelly was a micromanager. He slowed things down a lot. So, you know, and she seems to be doing the same thing. Is she thinking that she wants to make more bosses? No, I think that the Bronx is up in crime, and she feels that this is showing something on paper. Look, we're doing something. But yeah,
Could've
you're
just
right,
sent
Ron.
more people there, like Ron
What are you
said.
doing?
You could put more people there. Send the SRGs. Send
Well, you
other
can't.
people up
SRG's
there.
done.
Well, not yet officially, but
It's going to be done.
Right, but here's the thing. I don't know where you're getting these 200 cops. And if you're going to take 200 cops and put them in the Bronx because splitting the borough is going to put an additional 200 cops in, again, now let's break down those 200 cops and how many of them are going to be administrative positions, how many of them are going to be in duplicative positions.
Easy, big guy. Isn't there? High school graduates.
And you know what, Ron, you're bringing up a pretty valid point, because then you're going to need another building that you have to outfit to be a borough, and you're going to have to get extra radio cars, you're right. It's a redundancy in administrative people, and you're costing the city a lot of money.
Yeah.
You're not.
Give the personnel to the resources that are there. Beef up what's there. Beef up the squads. Beef up. If the 4-7 squad needs more detectives, you know, then give them more detectives. If the homicide squad needs more detectives, give them more detectives.
Well, how about this?
Bronx special victims need more detectives, give them more detectives.
How about this? Get some people who've been pretty successful, right? In evaluating crime and coming up with ways to fix it. Have them take a good look at it, you know. And listen, Bratton used to have consultants all the time. He paid millions to Bratton too. I don't know what they got for it, what they didn't get in the bank, but you could do that here. You could get some guys that have been through it, guys and girls, and say, hey, you know, can you do a little consulting here? Because I want outside eyes on it. I'm telling you, they need to do a very big assessment of where the police are, where the cops are, everywhere. I'm talking about police plaza and everything. You got to start looking at the 61s. Yeah, he did. You got to look at the 61s really deep, because I don't believe that with the amount of cops that are out there, and then talking to people that still live in the city. I know a girl who, well, actually, my sister-in-law, my brother's wife worked for Charlie Hines. She was like his administrative person. And when she left, she kind of gave the job to a friend of hers. I don't really know. I met her a few times. But I was at my brother's house, and him and his wife were saying, yeah, she goes to work. She's afraid to take the train. Down by J Street, you get off there, so you always hear shots, you hear this, you hear that, people are smoking pot. It's just bad. You have people going to Manhattan. It smells like urine and marijuana, and you can't take your phone out. Listen, they had a couple of financial institutions that were asking their people not to wear jewelry to work because you're a victim if this jewelry is visible. How can crime be down? There's no cops. Maybe crime's down because there's no cops. There's nobody to take a report anymore. I don't know. But there's certainly, I do hear stories about cops being pressured by bosses, and shame on them. Because you're putting no wonder, Mark, you're a boss and you're telling your cop to lie. And what happens if he or she gets caught lying? You're going to stand up and go, yeah, I told him to do that? Oh, no, you weren't.
Yeah.
No.
Hey, so here's my last conspiracy, all right,
Okay.
with the Bronx. Benjamin Gurley, right? He's currently the CO of the Bronx.
Okay.
Maybe she wants to take care of him. So she moves him to the part of the Bronx, whether it's probably the North Bronx, which is less busy or commands, and then doesn't show there's a less crime increase. Maybe there's a reduction then by splitting the borough, and then she could put another person in the South Bronx, which is heavier, right? You're talking about the 4044, and then they have more crime. So maybe she's looking to help him out some way too.
Well, how about this? How about this? Just the fact.
Conspiracy.
Just the fact. Well, you maybe, you know what, you may have a little something, and I'll go with it. First of all, you should split it east and west, so the crime is split properly, not north and south.
They're not doing that though, right?
I don't know, but how about this? Well, now you're giving it all this attention, you're splitting it, you're putting new bosses in, like Ronnie said, and the message is, crime better be down. If you don't think that these people are going to feel, and it doesn't have to be direct pressure, they're going to feel pressure. Holy shit, the spotlight's here. They put all this money, all this resources. You're a new captain. If my crime is up, I'm done. Well, you're achieving well. I'm not going to get another promotion. And I don't know. I think you're fortunate enough to get to one-star chief. I know, I realized after a while I wasn't going to get another promotion. I really didn't give a shit. What's the difference? What am I going to get, another $7,000 a year? I mean, who cares? After a while, at some point, your integrity should be worth more than a promotion, and but I think that's what it's going to be. I think that I think that there's going to be indirect pressure that these people feel because the spotlight is on them. They got the attention. They got the cops. You're getting all these resources. I want results, or else.
I don't see how splitting the Bronx is going to reduce crime.
Only I agree. I think
the South, they're still going against the same numbers.
Well, they are.
But if you take the heavy commands and put them all in the South, whereas the numbers are driven, and then you take, like, if you're talking about the 5-0, where there's not, there's not a lot of crime up there. The 5-2 is a bit pretty busy house. The 4-7's busy. So I mean, but you're talking about the 4-0. The 4-3's heavy. The 4-4 is very heavy. So when you start taking and you split it across like this, and you put the 4-5 in the north also, the 4-5 is a slow house also. So when you take all these slow houses and you put them all north, whoever gets the north is going to have a reduction in crime.
Well,
they're not going to have a reduction in crime because they're still going against their own numbers.
But
they're just going to have. They're going to have a borough.
No, they split the numbers. They take the borough for each command.
But what Roddy's saying, you're still going to have the same crime.
The 4-7 is still going against the 4-7 numbers. The 4-5 is still going. But the 4-7 still going against the 4-7 numbers. The 4-5 still going against the 4-5 numbers. The 4-3 is going against the 4-3 numbers.
Right, but
Right?
what we have to understand what command is driving those numbers. Are the busier commands
But how to
driving?
split- but how to split-
if
how
you
to
take
split
a
the-
lot of slow commands,
but
and
how
put
is-
them-
How is
split
splitting
the
the command
borough
going to reduce
change that?
crime in a 4-3?
How
It
to
doesn't
split the
change.
borough
No,
You're
it's
change?
not.
you're not redistricting. You're not redistricting the commands. You're just
You're
separating the
taking-
commands into a north and south zone.
and you're taking the busier commands and putting them all in the south. So
And-
you're
and
going
how
to
does
take
that-
all the numbers that are driven, and then the lower numbers up top. If the whole borough, if the 5-0 is low in crime, right, but the 4-4 is heavy, so they take the 4-4 and put it in the south, and take the 5-0 and the 4-5, which are low in crime, and
Yeah,
say
but that's
it's
not
not
going
going
to,
to.
that's not going to change total numbers.
Not that, well, it will change the number as far as if they compare it to the years before. So if you take all the commands in the north
No.
and say, what's the command? Well, it's reduction of crime. It's not reduction, but it's going to look like
It's not.
the
You-
Bronx
you-
North
you-
has less crime.
But
than
when
the
you
South.
look at the total, Bronx, the numbers are going to be the same. The way to reduce crime
Total
is
Bronx, but if you
Yeah.
split it, it's
yeah, but
not.
it doesn't matter. That's not going to change the city numbers. That's just bullshit. If that's their thought, they're completely fucking insane. I
Yeah,
think.
it just doesn't make
I
any sense.
I think what this is the attention is on you now. We gave you all these resources. You will be down in crime, and that's it. And you know, bosses being, some people get very nervous about that. They were, listen, on my first command, when I thought I was going to be up in crime, it bothered me. Not so much that I wouldn't get promoted, but that I failed. But the you know, like it beat you. You know, you had your pride. But we never. The message was the crime doesn't get changed in crime analysis. The job is on the street, not in the office. You don't
Right,
change
should
it with
be.
a pencil.
Right.
And as long as you do that, now it sounds to me as if this guy Gurley, I don't know him. It sounds like he's probably running a pretty honest shop because he's up in crime when everybody else is down, right? I mean, Brooklyn North is down, but the Bronx is up. Manhattan North is down, but the Bronx is up. I mean, those commands always stayed busy together, right? So he's probably an honest guy, and by splitting it, I agree with Ronnie. The overall effect on the city isn't going to change by splitting. That would just be a silly thing to think. I think.
You're absolutely right. The overall numbers for the city will stay the same when you look at the citywide numbers from ComSec.
And
But
Bronx,
when you
and-
look at
and-
the
yeah,
Bronx
no,
is going to, Bronx will change.
No,
because-
Bronx South is still going to be up.
It's going to,
No,
Bronx South is going to drive the crime in the South. It's going to
still
be
gonna
heavier
up,
in the
but
South.
it's still going to be up. When they take
They'll be
that
up,
borough-
but not the
when-
North then. The
But
North.
who cares? The North. If they stay the same, they're going to take all the crime that happened in those commands. They're going to split it. So Bronx North, Bronx South. So Bronx North had 100 major index crimes. They still have 100. Okay, they're not down. But I bet they won't be down anyway. I bet they're going up. The Bronx is going up because it sounds to me like maybe they're a little more accurate with their reporting. Bronx South, they had 500 crimes, so now they got 550. Well, your experiment just failed, Commissioner, because crime is still up. Bullshit. It didn't help. And we put all these resources in. Believe me, when they turn around and they do things like that, like when I did the thing in the 7-5 splitting it up, I had bosses calling me and saying, you're out of your fucking mind. Because the mayor and the police commissioner both said they endorsed this. You are the one that developed it. You're dead if it fails. So in other words, don't take the chance. Well, no, I believed it would be, and it did work. I believed it could, and it did. It made sense. But now you're a new commander and you get this money and you got all these resources and kind of the unofficial word comes out, hey, suppose you're the new, suppose they do give Gurley Bronx North. Now they got it goes to Bronx South. They give it to Rob Lukash and we're going to make you chief, Rob, but you got all these resources. We expect to see a crime reduction or, you're fucked. And
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think the bottom line is they shouldn't be doing it. That's my opinion. That's my opinion. It's stupid. You want to send resources, send resources. You want to
100%.
help Gurley out, give him more people.
I'm
But
going to
don't-
agree.
it's a
I'm going to
bullshit
agree. I'm going to agree. I didn't think it was a bad idea when I heard it, but then listening to you guys, yeah, I agree with you because you're wasting money where you don't need to. You will be taking boots off the ground to achieve this. You're going to have to outfit a whole nother building to make another borough. which is going to cost millions, the way the city gives contracts out, and God only knows whose relative will get that contract, and the kickbacks and all that. Yeah, and radio call, everything. You're going to increase everything. You have to make a whole new detective squad, which, yeah, you're
location, right? You need location.
Yeah,
you need manpower, personnel.
Yeah.
It doesn't make equipment, computers.
You need retrofitting and all that.
Yeah.
Stuff, right.
It's bullshit.
You know what? Maybe even need another emergency truck.
Right? Well, there's only one truck up there. There's truck 4 and truck 3, so it's kind of split already. So I don't know, but but you're adding on a lot of expense that doesn't make sense. I guess that's correct. I think though, I think the maybe she just doesn't know. Maybe she's panicking. She wants to keep a job. Maybe this is coming from Kelly, although I don't see his fingerprint on that, but who knows? This was rumors years ago. I remember this. How many times this rumor's been around? And now she's putting pen to paper, which makes still no sense. Even back then, when we would say it would make no sense. But,
she's gotten a lot of positive press lately, and how she could possibly take any credit for any crime reduction is beyond me, because when she became police commissioner, she left a lot of people in place there that shouldn't have been. I think if she would have pushed back on some of them, Adams would have gotten rid of her. Because some of the people that I heard that she was looking to get rid of, Adams said absolutely not. So then you capitulated, right? You become full of shit, right? You don't do what it is you should do.
Right.
She kept them. They were not crime fighters at all. I mean, nothing changed except her. So how did crime go down? Unless maybe it really did. Maybe our guys and girls are doing much better, because you know what? They seem to get the job done no matter what. God bless them all. But I just don't see it with the numbers. I don't see it. I talk to people. They're tired, man. There are people making so much overtime, and they kind of don't want to anymore. And these are, they're professional cops. They do a great job. They're tenured. One guy's got 35 years. He's still a white shield cop, still doing it, man. God bless him, and he's good. His pension's gonna be better than ours, I'll tell you that. But I don't know. I don't know how. I don't know how they could possibly be a crime reduction, unless you hear some people say, "Well, there's just less cops, less pencils to put on paper, less reports." You do hear stories about bosses, first and second line supervisors giving guys shit because I guess they're getting pressure from their COs, which would be wrong.
It's wrong.
If you're a CO
on my CO's meetings, and this is one of the things, I worked for Chief Pizzuti for a long time. A lot of people have different opinions about Chief Pizzuti and her management styles and everything else. But one thing I definitely got from Chief Pizzuti was a saying that stuck with me. I took it with me. I used to have it in the footer of my CO's minutes when I did a CO's meeting. I didn't do a payday meeting every 2 weeks. I used to write down things. I'd get information out as it needed to be, and then had like maybe once, maybe twice a month, a CO's meeting on payday. And we put the minutes together. Right on the bottom, and it's something I picked up from Chief Pizzuti, was in big, bold letters. And people can say what they want in the chat about all the different bosses and all the different executives, and everybody's fudging numbers. Not everybody fudges numbers, okay? Like you said, if I don't know where the numbers are, I can't properly deploy my resources to actually address real crime.
And now you're victimizing the victims twice.
And you're victimizing the victim again, correct? Yeah. I had it in big, bold letters on the bottom. Never compromise your integrity for the sake of activity. And that went for arrests, summonses, 61s, anything. I hated, the old saying, sayings and this, that, but it is what it is. It's the truth. It is what it is. If I don't know about it, I can't properly take my resources and deploy against it. Whether I'm up in crime, down in crime, nobody's ever, see, this is what they don't understand, Mike, and we've been to Comstat, and Rob, you've been to Comstat. We've been for so many years, right? Did you ever see a guy lose his command because he was up in crime or she was up in crime, but they were up there, they were able to articulate the crime, articulate the plan, and articulate the results, and articulate how they pivoted their plan when it wasn't working? I never saw anybody lose their command for that. You lose your command when you go up there and all your shit's going on in Sector Charlie, and you're talking about shit down in Sector Boy.
Well, you don't remember pre-ESPO when people did lose their commands. They would get the shit kicked out. Now, ESPO was different. ESPO would, I remember him specifically saying, I don't want these bullshit numbers you're giving away. This isn't, stop, this crime's down here. Why are the numbers here? I don't want numbers for numbers. And ESPO would say that. And I also saw him say, hey, I'm listening to you. You're doing everything you're right. Hey, sometimes the wheel just stops on you. No, everybody doesn't fudge numbers. That's not correct, Mr. V, man. I never asked my people to. I never would. Sometimes cops would because they thought they were helping you. And they look what I did, and you say, no, don't do that. Don't do that. That's not what I want. That's not
right. I challenge anybody in the chat, anybody out there listening. Find anybody that worked for me that says that I ever gave them pressure to change a classification or not come in with a 61 or write bullshit summonses. And I use the example, when I was in the 111, they were writing, when I got there, they were writing a ton of C summonses. And I'm like, give me a breakdown of the C summonses, because this is the 111, bro.
Yeah.
I worked in Brooklyn.
Was it the tractor trailers?
It was everything. No, it wasn't even that.
I hated that.
They were writing no name or address on the side of a commercial vehicle on white panel vans. They were writing taxi drivers for not having their trip sheet up to date.
And you know what that was? And that was the result of a poor boss who said, give me numbers that didn't work. I had a guy that was writing tractor trailers, and it's in the 7.7. And he really thought that he deserved the gold shield for that. I go, what you're doing is punishing a working guy. That doesn't stop a crime. What the hell did you do? Or you get the old, well, I got to give 3 C's a month. So they'd see a guy drinking. They gave him drinking in public, open container, and littering because he threw it down. I got mine for the day. I got mine for the month now.
Yeah. No, 100%. And what I did was I looked at these summonses. And I told my bosses, I said, I don't want to see another one of these summonses ever again. I always told everybody, everything that you do should
have an effect,
have a positive effect on crime, quality of life, or something, right? Yeah. Not just, don't give me the bullshit numbers for numbers. I don't need that. You're driving a wedge between us and the community by doing that. You're writing a hardworking guy because his trip sheet's not big. Give me a break. I don't ever want to see that again. If you can articulate to me that we have a white panel van burglary pattern, and you're writing those vans, that's a different story.
But I understand some, Ron.
But if you can't articulate that to me, I don't ever want to see them. And they're like, oh, well, you're going to be down in summonses. That's right. And you know what? I got questioned in CompStat. Ron, you're down like 97% in C summonses. And I had no problem. I didn't have a filter. You know that, right? I said that on today's show. I was known for not having a filter before I was on Finest Unfiltered, right? And I said right at the podium, I explained the situation, and I told my people, if you see quality of life offenses that need to be addressed with quality of life summonses, be my guest. But I don't want to see all these BS numbers for numbers. And I probably shouldn't have done this. I never got caught. But I challenged them that I'm not going to stand at the podium with pictures on the monitors behind me of all these bands of people drinking in public that aren't being addressed, and 311 calls of public drinking and all this other stuff that would, necessitate us to respond by writing C summonses. It's just the 111, I have more issues with moving violations because I had a lot of traffic accidents and, whether it's fatalities or serious injuries, whatever the case may be. So I need to focus my attention to make a positive change on those types of things, not write me bullshit C summonses.
Well, wait, I got a great story. So there was guys in the 4-1 that were told to get numbers, right? So there was an abandoned car that a guy lived in, right? And they would go by and they'd give him 10 movers a month, and he would take it because nobody would bother him then, so he could just live in his car there instead of living on the streets. So when the Daily News comes out with the when the Daily News comes out with the top 511, this guy's #1, and he never even drove his car around. It's just because the guys kept hitting him with numbers. It was crazy.
And again, Johnny Drama, you like to talk shit all the time, but then say it's not personal. I challenge you, Johnny Drama 2. Find somebody that worked for me that said that I sent them out there and told them to get me numbers. I dare you. I challenge you. Challenge on, pal. Go find them.
No, that wouldn't happen.
It's not going to happen.
Listen,
there's people that come up in this chat that have worked for me that, listen, I don't always get along. They didn't always like me because I'm the boss and I'm going to do what's right. So they're not always going to get their way. But they're honest at least enough to say that what I'm saying is the truth. Listen, what I say here is what I said when I was on the job. When I was on the job and I would talk to a roll call, I said the same thing that I would say at a CO's meeting, the same thing that I would say in a one-on-one meeting behind closed doors with anybody else. Because you know what? When you speak the truth and you stay on point, you don't have to worry about thinking about what you said so that you don't cross, you don't step all over yourself.
In all fairness, Ron, what they were doing, somebody told him to do. Now, this may be his reality, the things that he experienced. I'm not going to say he's not, because your people doing that, they didn't come up with that on their own. They were pushed, or maybe they were told. And there were also the cops that thought they were helping you when they did that. Oh, get out of here. Why Detective Bureau never wanted me? Get out of here. So, I did crime and he didn't play around with numbers. Well, if you say so, whatever. I have my own thoughts about Corey, so nothing bad. But he wasn't the most proficient commander. I wouldn't have been my choice to give him a 6-7. I actually wanted Charlie McAvoy to get that one, but I was overruled for actually, as I was told by Big Boss. Well, the flavor is chalk and not vanilla. I was told right in my face. So.
And again, Johnny, challenge on. Find me a sergeant or lieutenant that was told that by me. So stop talking your nonsense. I'm done with you.
Listen, they were told to do it.
I understand that, but they weren't told by me. And I got this knucklehead who thinks he's going to say that I'm the one that said it. I'm not insulting your intelligence because I don't believe you have any.
You're always going to get that. I had a guy torture me before, and I think I know who it was, and he got a lot of people in trouble, and he couldn't take it like a man. And I was one of the guys that got in trouble. I ratted him out. No, you did the wrong thing, and I had to take it, and I wasn't happy about it, but there's nothing I could do about it. The ICO gave me one too. But it happens, happens. What are you going to do? You can't make everybody happy. I don't know. I know. And again,
I'm going to say it one more time, even though I said I'm done. Not one person on this platform, Mike Marino, Rob Lukash, or myself, have said that it does not happen.
No.
We're not saying it doesn't happen. We are saying that people with low integrity that are out for themselves and self-promotion that do put undue pressure on subordinates to do things that they shouldn't be doing, and they're not doing things for the right reason. We've never said that. So stop your whining. Now I'm done.
Well, all I know is that going back to when I was a sergeant, which was a long time ago, and all I can say is that they still call me, and it's funny. I mean, through all the ranks, I'm still stay pretty close, and I'm so happy. My guys from when I was a sergeant, they still talk to each other. They stay close, and that's great. And it's funny because they'll send me pictures, and I go, because they were younger than me. I was a fairly young sergeant. These guys were babies, And I go, wow, they got old. And then I look at them and I go, oh shit, so did you. You figure it's such a long time. Listen, it happens. Listen, I don't think any one of the three of us could ever say that we didn't make mistakes. Or that, you didn't have a bad day, and sometimes yell at a guy or a girl when you shouldn't have, because that always made me ashamed later on. It did. You tried to apologize to them. We're human beings too, but I would say on the whole, and Ron, you worked for me. I know when I was in the borough, I didn't want any of my captains. I had a whole self-inspection set up in the borough between myself and John Essig and Tommy Moran, and we found a lot of stuff, and we made them change it. And I actually asked for 3 people to be moved, and you were not one of them, Ron. And actually it was 4. It was 2 black guys, 2 white guys, because they tried to say I was being racist, but it was 2 black guys, 2 white guys. And they didn't move any of them. And I just felt they should have been moved. I didn't feel they were being honest. I didn't feel that they had control of their commands. I didn't feel they were leading their people in the right direction. And I got yelled at. And I said, well, I asked you to move them and you didn't. I mean, what do you want me to say? You know, what can I do? But no, Ron, I never heard that about you. And I know you worked for me now for a long time, 3 or 4 years, I think. And then I was gone. But no, and I love the emergency service guys, Rob. You know that.
I know. Yeah.
What did I want that command? I couldn't get that one either. The color of the day was wrong, as I was told. So that's what I was told. That's what I'm just telling you honestly. I'm not lying about that.
Rob and I have discussed this. We've been told the same thing.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
Okay,
Listen.
and I wasn't bitter, and I didn't blame anybody. And the guy that got it, well, he didn't do that to me. You know, he didn't. It wasn't his fault. They told him you're going here, and he went there. He actually apologized to me. Mike, I'm sorry. I know you wanted that. I wanted what you got. And hey, listen, it's not our decision. We're soldiers. We go where we're told to go. But
Hey, Johnny Drama's calling us the Three Stooges. I just hope that I want to know if I'm Mo, Larry, or Curly, though. I want to know. I'm curious now.
I don't know. I'm losing my hair. I think I can be.
I think I know. Johnny Drama changed his handle. He used to be somebody else. It started with a
Listen. What I found in my career was this. I always said that there's cops and there's civil servants, right? The cops always seem to find each other. You can go out to a bar. I go out down here once in a while, have a drink, and I run into a guy, and I know he was a cop. Maybe not a cop in New York, and it's funny, you find each other. And what I always found, the most bitter guys and girls, it was mostly guys, were the people that did the least. And they were the most bitter. The job sucks, the world sucks, you suck, I suck, the other platoon sucks, and they did nothing. And they tried to discourage other people from working because they didn't want anyone to be happy. And they went home and they were miserable when they went home. I always felt if you can make your cops feel good about themselves and what they do and make them understand how really important it is, and it is important, that they're going to be proud of themselves and they're going to be better people. They're going to go home and be better husbands and wives and better mothers and fathers, and their dog will be biting them when they walk in the door. But there's some people you can't change. I know that, yeah, I came down on some people, and they were always people that didn't work. And that's the way it is. So one guy said, it is Eddie Kleinpete. I know you, Eddie. There's one guy said the squad didn't. Yeah, the squad did want me, as a matter of fact. They did. And I was asked in every rank to go to the squad, and I didn't want to. I liked the street. I really did. That's all I wanted to do was the street. I did 18 years in a radio car before I made captain. And I loved it, and I wouldn't change a damn thing. And I loved my guys, and I tried to do the best for them. And I guess everybody wasn't always happy. Gee, I don't know. When I was XO Brooklyn North, I had 3,000 people work with me. Imagine there had to be a couple of unhappy ones. I know.
There's always going to be. I say it all the time. Being a leader and being, a boss is like being a parent. You got to do what's right, not what's popular.
Well, I think you got to try. I think, Ron, something you said very important. You got to try to be a straight shooter with them. Hey, I love you, but
right.
You're really not doing your job well. It's not that I like you personally, but I can't. And to try to be a straight shooter. Do you always hit the mark? No, because we're susceptible to human emotion just like everyone else. A bad day at home, a bad relationship. The boss told you you're an idiot. If I had a dime for every time Espo told me I was an idiot, I'd be a wealthy man. I got to tell you the truth. And I love that guy like I can't even tell you.
No, I think you're 100% right, Mike. I think what it is, if you're a supervisor out there, a sergeant on up, what you have to do is you have to explain to your cops why you're saying something, why you're doing it. The worst cop I ever met on this job is a guy that says, "Do it because I'm the boss," and I said
absolutely.
So.
And
that's the worst thing you can.
And the worst boss, sergeant, lieutenant, that goes in front of the roll call and goes, "I don't agree with this either, but this is what he wants, and we have to do it."
Oh.
Absolutely, yeah.
All right, no good.
The best thing, and we've had this conversation before when we talk about leadership. When you explain why you want the cops to do what you're asking them to do, besides going out and actually doing it with them, right? Because we've all done that. I know I've ran into Mike Marino in the field in Brooklyn North, in my time in Brooklyn North, on many a jobs. Ronnie Two Bars, here he comes, and so we were out there, and the cops will tell you, I show up on jobs. I don't show up to scratch books and look for white socks. I'm there. What can I do to help? How can I make this job go easier? And sometimes, take control if control's not being taken care of. But again, in order to make it right for them to keep people in check
and to teach
and to teach. Yeah. Exactly. So you have to take these things into consideration. You have to, listen. A lot of people saying in the chat, whatever, we're dinosaurs. We're not on the job. The job's different today. We acknowledge the job is different today. We acknowledge the job is not our job. We acknowledge that. So we're giving you experiences of how it was when we were on the job, and all three of us were pretty successful. So we're giving our perspectives from what made us successful, and what I always attest my success to is the fact that I had the ability of building good teams that got the job done. It's not me, right? And having the ability to acknowledge my mistakes and change things when they're not working, and to listen to everybody. I don't care what rank you are.
Yep.
If I'm the smartest guy in the room, I need to get out of that room.
Yeah, because you'd make plans, and then you give it out, and then sometimes you get a boss or a cop come in and say it's okay, but it's not working. You need to change this, and you got to listen to them because they're the ones doing it. They're great ideas. You make them part of your team a little bit, and stuff. But I don't know. Listen, some of these guys. Some of these guys really get under my skin. That one guy in particular was bothering me because I think I know who it is, and I know his act. And he was let me tell you, he had some act. And he was another one of those guys that when, the housing guys would come in, he would abuse them. And that's not right. That's not funny. They're cops just like you. You teach them. Or you heard the narcotics guy saying he has to do the sign and seal because sometimes the desk officer would abuse his guys. And I saw that too, and that's not right. They're not breaking your balls because they're asking you, they're not, I agree, man, they're not explaining it. So the cops look at Sarge like, you got 3 years. Yeah. That's true.
Everybody has to know what to do, but not just what to do. Don't just say,
why?
Go out and do this.
What am I
this
trying to
is
accomplish?
Why we're doing it.
Right.
And this is the result we want from it.
Right.
So they'll buy into it.
I always thought that was a much better way to, and in big details, I know. And who were the best ranks on the big details when you did that? Pretty much the sergeants, because you'd go, listen, you got this set up like this, but this isn't working. You need to, and he or she are the ones that, he or she are the ones that are out there actually doing it, and they're doing it every day, and they got a lot of good ideas sometimes. Listen to them. What's the worst that could happen? They're right. Okay. And it runs better. Okay. Whatever. At the end of the day, you want the job to get done. Listen, everybody ain't going to be happy.
No, 100%. We're 2 hours and 47 minutes into this.
Wow.
Yeah, I jumped on after the first hour. I appreciate you coming on, Mike.
Anytime.
As you know, at the end of our show, we kind of went off the rails and basically just free willied it for the last over an hour. So there's stuff that maybe me and Rob will get into next week. But so the end of the show, we get into a segment called Ask an Executive. So today we have Ask an Executive, where Ron, Rob, and Mike will answer questions from the chat. And so we acknowledge that a lot of people don't have access to executives. So here we give you the ability to ask us questions on topic, off topic. And Georgie keeps talking about the difference between a boss and an executive. In NYPD, an executive is anybody that's a captain or above. I'll just leave it at that. So we invite anybody now to ask us a question if you want, on topic, off topic. But please, not nonsense. Ask legitimate questions. We'll give you our perspective on it. You can also, in the future and offline, because I know some people can't ask questions because they're active duty members of the service, and we understand that. You can DM us at Exec Perspective on X, or send a question to theexecutiveperspective@gmail.com. We will respond to you. Our DMs are open to everybody. We will respond to you. And if the question's appropriate, we will ask it on the future show. We will keep your identity completely anonymous and protected. That's not an issue. So I did pin one question up here. HFL, who's a frequent listener, Housing for Life. So when we were talking about subordinates, what would you do if a subordinate back talked to you? So with that, it depends. It depends on the situation. What I always said to people, insubordination was always very big to me. And anybody from the janitor to the executive officer, if they were insubordinate, especially in a public setting, you could be 100% correct with your argument or your statement. If you do it in an insubordinate manner, you become 1,000% wrong. How do you guys feel about that?
Yeah, particularly if they do it. Look, everybody can get angry. Everybody can have a bad day. We spoke about that before. If somebody's in your office, one-on-one, and the person, for whatever reason, just having them listen. I had people come in with horrific personal situations. You were calling them in to talk about their lack of working, and then when they came back and you found out what was going on in their life, you just wanted to hug them and tell them, "Just come to work, man. Don't worry, just get here," because they had horrific things. If they do it in front of people, well, they're doing it for a reason. They're doing it for effect, and you got to kind of slap that down quick because, we're not doing this in front. You're going to try to embarrass me in front of people. Well, I'm going to call you, and I'm going to probably embarrass you. And if you like to take it outside, we could do that too. I didn't care about that, but no, not. I listen. I had times where I embarrassed a cop, wrong, a roll call, and I shouldn't have. And a couple of days later, in front of that same roll call that I embarrassed him in front of, I apologized in front of that roll call too. I was wrong, and I did it. One-on-one is a different thing. Hey, Ron, you ever had like the union come into your office, delegates, right, or trustees? And it's their job to stick up for their guys. And sometimes it got heated, but it was okay because it was just you and them.
Right.
And they're doing their job. You do it to me in front of roll call. That's different. Now you're just trying to embarrass me. Now, this isn't, you could go in with a delegate or a trustee and go nose to nose in the room with the door closed and you can go out later and have a drink. Everybody was doing their job. You do it to me in front of roll call.
Yeah. I'll give a quick example on that too. When I was the CO of the Queens North burglary, loss and apprehension suppression team, the blast team, my guys scooped up a team that we were doing surveillance on, found property on them, and worked the case backwards, back to a burglary in the 110.
Nice shot.
And the squad was out because the 911 call came over. The squad went out for their initial investigation, right? So my guys have the guy in custody. They have the property. Now they're going back to do the confirmation and everything else. And the squad was like, "That's our collar. It's our case." And I'm like, "You don't have a case on this." "Yeah, the minute we go out the door, we have a case." "No, you don't. When there's a 61 and it's upstairs and it gets assigned to a detective, you have a case, then we can have a conversation depending on how it's going to happen. This is my guys collared somebody and worked it backwards. Just because your guys are out bitching and moaning they had to leave the office to go out on an initial canvas of a burglary, it's not your collar, right?" So we go back to it was the 115, I'm sorry. Because then we go back into the 115, we go into the XO's office, and the squad commander comes down, and I was friends with the guy. And we had a heated discussion. Heated discussion. And I let him vent. He motherfucked me and thought, I was really doing this guy's wrong. And I let it, but I allowed it. as the senior officer, right, the person with the higher rank, if you're gonna allow it, you got to allow it, and there can't be any repercussions.
That's right.
So we're behind doors, and there's no hard feelings afterwards. Listen, if you don't like the decision and you don't like me, fine. But I'm not going to say, oh, you yelled at me, you called me names, you cursed at me, you were disrespectful, because I allowed that conversation to be at that level. And he didn't like what happened. Oh, well, I said, if you don't like it, then you get somebody in the detective bureau that's a higher rank than me to talk to me, because at this point, this is what's going to happen. And I disagree. Just because you went out on a canvas doesn't make it your case. You're not getting the collar. And that was that. But I guess it was a lot louder than I thought, because when I came out, my guys knew I went to bat for them, because they could hear it out by the desk, supposedly. But so shame on me for letting it get that loud. But again, that isn't insubordinate. That's not disrespectful. That's two adults having a lively conversation.
Two adults that are bosses with different talents, if you will. Because I always gave as far as I was concerned, most of my squad commanders, I felt pretty much on an even keel with me, because they helped me and they were good at what they did, and I respected them and they respected me. So we were two men, two cops who were bosses in different, my interest didn't conflict with theirs, so to speak, right there in the squad. I'm on patrol. I always gave them a lot of leeway, but they always gave me a lot of respect too. I can't see any of my squad commanders ever speaking to me in a bad way in front of people. Right. I know what I do it to them. So, but at the end of the day, when bosses disagree, at the end of the day, the one who has to make the decision, the highest ranking one, has to make the decision. Okay, here, everybody, but it's going to be like this. I hear you, but this is my decision. That's it.
Right. Rob, you want to add anything?
Oh, well, I mean, I have a little different take on it. For me, I agree with both of you that it shouldn't happen in public. And if it ever did in public in front of other cops, I would immediately take that person and say, all right, in a calm manner, just come to my office and we'll discuss it in my office, because we're not going to discuss it here. So I try to take control of the situation that way. The other thing is when you're on a tactics job, that's blown out off the window, because I've had cops yell at me from ESU, tell me to shut the fuck up. Yeah. I've had them to kick me, to kick me off the floor when I was a brand new captain. So tactically, in a tactical situation, I think you can yell at me and you can tell me whatever the hell you want to do, and I will accept it, because that's you're in the middle of a job. Well, but otherwise, yeah, we're gonna take it to my office and we're gonna deal with it that way. I would never squabble with somebody out in front of a bunch of people, and I would tell that person, you're not gonna get away with that. You're not gonna do it again. So that's my opinion.
Yeah.
All right. Next question. We'll give Johnny Drama's had a lot to say today. We'll give him a question. Do COs and XOs get along?
Not always. Not always. Not
always. And people have to know when you're the XO. And so for those who don't know, we're talking a lot of lingo today. A CO is a commanding officer, and a CO is a commanding officer, and an XO is the executive officer. They could be the same rank. They could both be captains. They could both be whatever rank, but the CO outranks the XO. So the XO has to do what the CO wants. And the XO's job, what I was told as a junior captain, your job is to execute the plan of the CO and get that CO promoted. And if you got to take a little bit of a hit, take a little bit of a hit, because you got a longer road ahead of you to recover from it. And, it's just the right thing. But no, they don't always get along. They don't always have the same mentality. I was the XO in the 7-3. There was another XO in the 7-3. I won't name him. And he didn't like the way that the CO was handling certain things. And the CO happened to be Joe Campbell, who was my special ops lieutenant when I was a cop in the 7-0. and I had the utmost respect for the man.
I love
And
Joey.
you know what? It's his shop. It's our job to do whatever the fuck we're told to do. And he said to me in the locker room one day, he goes, you know, Ron, 2 of these will outrank one of his Oakleys. I go, are you out of your mind? I don't care if there's 10 of us. He's the boss. I don't care if he's got captain boss. And then when that guy got his first command, which was the 9-4, he said to me, how do you think I'm going to do, Ron? How do you think I'm going to do? I said, I think you're going to have a problem because you're a captain and the XO is a captain. I think you're going to have a problem, you know, but, you know, whatever.
Everybody's human, Johnny. You know, I mean, does everybody get along? No. But you as an XO, you have to respect the guy's the boss. And, you know, we do have a rank structure. And if you're any kind of a person yourself, hey, bosses come and go, man. We've all had bad bosses that didn't like us or, you know, we didn't get along with. They go. You know, you suck it up, you do your job, they move along. You know.
Hey, but I you know, being an XO, you know, I dealt with a couple of COs. I was never a CO of a command, but I can tell you that there's 2 types of people. One, there's COs that don't give a rat's ass about you, that want to just get promoted. And then there's COs that care about the XO and will ask the XO to do things that maybe the XO doesn't want. But when that CO moves up and gets promoted to deputy inspector, to inspector, they remember what you did for them when you were their XO. And those are the good COs. But, you know, there are and there always will be conflict back and forth, because especially when it's captain to captain, you know, you got a little bit of button heads once in a while. But yeah, as the XO, I would always, whatever the CO needed, I would do. You know, there was a guy in the 2-3 that I really didn't get along with, because I knew all he wanted to do was to get promoted. And you know, he got promoted. He never once went up at the podium at Comstat. I went up every time because I had the impact. So as the impact captain, I went up. But he never went up, and he still got promoted. So, but that's the nature of the beast, right? And that he's one of the guys that would forget you in a heartbeat, because he got his promotion, and that's all he cared about. And that's another thing. He was one of the guys that got dumped out of the building, 1 PP, when they said you had to have a command to get promoted. All of a sudden, these you know, idiots from 1 PP came out and became all COs. And I couldn't get a CO spot after asking Ray Diaz multiple times that I wanted to be a CO. But that's a whole nother topic to be talking about.
You're not kidding.
Well, Leo's asking if the XOs that I didn't get along with, I got along with him because I was an XO myself. If his initials were PV, quite possibly are.
Well, I know who that is now. I know who that is.
Yeah. Do you have any
he
Girl Scout
was, he was a very strange man.
Yes. Any Girl Scout cookies for sale?
Oh boy.
All right. We got any more on point questions here? Off point, off topic, on topic. Did you see anything, Rob, earlier on?
No, but I think a Modern Samurai is spot on.
There he is.
Spot on. Yeah. So he didn't ask a question, but he reaffirmed my my thought process.
We don't give people 5 questions, Johnny.
No, I didn't have a chance to write them all down as they were coming through. So I was Mike was keeping me busy, you know. So
yeah.
I think we broke a record. Terry, did we break a record? I don't know. This is
on what
are we at? 303. I don't know if Terry Manane always wants us with a lot of stamina. Keep going. I don't know if we broke a record tonight, though.
Might have.
No, we're not even close to our record.
Oh, you know who had a couple of questions? William Nolan did from Facebook. I see it was in the chat. He had a question.
We're gonna answer that question.
Which one was it?
You talking about this one? How did John?
You know what?
Obtain 3/4
You know what?
We all know the answer to that.
We don't know the answer to that.
The world works in strange. The Lord works in strange and mysterious ways, Mr. Nolan.
Yeah,
That's
and
all I
then
can say
Hunter
about that.
NY has a statement that I don't know where this falls in, and I don't know what it has to do with anything. I believe John D. McCary, who started the slide stream and created the executive's perspective. John McCary did start the Finest Unfiltered, New York's finest retired and unfiltered podcast, and then was joined by Eric Dim, and then they branched out and they made the Finest Unfiltered Network, which Rob and I created the Executive Perspective podcast and came online with it. So,
hey, did you see? There's a petition in the chat to change it to the boss's perspective. All right, we'll go. You know, let's see if the petition gets enough signatures.
Well, let me tell you something. We weren't born bosses. You know.
No.
And you know, an awful lot of us worked the streets right alongside you. An awful lot of us kept working the streets even when we made boss, and still wrote our own summons and made our own calls and didn't assign them to other cops. And we came up, and our experiences kind of shaped us, and that's how it was. It wasn't, believe me, it wasn't out of a book, and it wasn't out of, you know what I remember out of sergeant school? We all went to different times, so it was different. Remember those films they showed you? Remember those films, and they showed you a scenario of a cop screwing up, and then you had those big lips on the screen.
Yeah.
It's your all move, Sergeant. Remember those ones?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And well, this was actually this was in BMOC, and
all right.
We had 1 week in, 2 weeks out, 1 week in, 2 weeks out, 1 week in, 2 weeks out, right? So that's what it was. It was a 9-week cycle, but 3 weeks in, and then each 1 week was interrupted by 2 weeks in your probationary command. And I remember going back after the first 2 weeks out, and we're back in for our second in training week, and I remember all these sergeants, and like there was like, wow, how many guys did you write up? Like, wow, they were proud of it. Like, this was almost like I was like, what are you guys, nuts? You know, in my whole, I mean, as a cop, I never saw. I want to keep. I like the command logs actually. I do. I like them. But man, as a cop, I never saw a cop get written up. You know, all of my time in the 2-8, and I think as a sergeant, 8 years in the 7-3, the only guys I wrote up were the guys from who's that lunatic in the 7-5 had the documentary. That was his name. The guy that got locked up. He was with the drug dealer.
Dowd.
His partner Urel's cousin worked in the 7-3 and had a bunch of those guys on the 4-12. I know that other guy said, you know, my guys ran wild. They didn't. This was the 4-12 guys. And I wrote them up. They were off base a couple of times. But you know, I knew they weren't doing good things. I didn't think they were doing what they were doing. But I don't remember writing many people up, and that was nothing to be proud of. But man, a lot of these news, how many you had? Like it was almost a badge of honor, like a competition. And that was horrible. That's kind of what I remember about BMOC. It's your move, Sergeant, with those. Basically, the focus was on, they didn't tell you the things you were going to see on the desk and how to do property checks and, you know, the forms you needed to be familiar with. Basically, it was, you know, you're going to get in trouble, fuck the cops. That's what I remember. And a lot of the bosses, they seem to go along with it, the new bosses.
I got to give a shout out to 92 Charlie. I appreciate what he said. He said, I don't take many things too seriously. And you know what it is? From the day I got on the job, I think every day you got to laugh, right? You have to have fun on this job. When you're in a radio car with your partner, you got to be joking. You got to be laughing. You know, I know it's a little harder with body worn camera now. You got to be careful what you say, but you just got to have fun. You know, make the job work for you. That's the most important.
I heard a couple horror shows where the guy was just like basically talking to his partner with the windows closed, and they railed him. You know, like what? He wasn't talking to the oh my God.
Ron, you want to read out? the super chats maybe then?
All right,
we got a couple.
let me just see.
Well, you got a couple more questions?
Yeah, I got a couple, but I'm gonna just scroll down to the bottom because I went back and I was starring them. But yeah, you can read out Mon and Samurai, and he's got a question there. So, you want to read that one out, Rob?
Yeah, sorry I'm late. Just got to submit a 28. All right, no big deal. Boss, you think getting rid of the command logs is a good thing or a bad thing? I believe it's a horrible not to have written backups. You know, I could tell you when I was in the 4-1 and we went down in the basement and you look at those old command logs and the history and what is written.
Oh,
so
I used to love doing that. I thought the same thing, Rob.
It's amazing. The penmanship, right? How they wrote it out. There, you know, with the I guess they used to dip the pen in ink or whatever. It was amazing.
The fountain
yeah,
pens.
the fountain pens. And then I also say, like I said in the chat this morning, I says, so now, and Hard X Core also brought it up. Now they can tell, if you do electronically, they can tell when you wrote it, what you wrote in there at a moment's notice, who you arrested, right? Because remember we used to have the stamp and you stamped the command log and you fill in who the person was arrested and you had all that stuff. Now you're going to do electronically. So then when they want to find out that, oh, my friend was arrested, I call 1PP. Hey, is Johnny arrested? Yeah. Oh, hold on. Let me check. Oh, yeah, he's in the 7-5 right now. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, I think that it should have, you know, go back to, or don't move ahead to electronic command logs. I think that's a great thing. I didn't like doing all those. Sometimes it took me 2 hours of entries in the beginning of my tour as a sergeant and platoon commander, writing all the, you know, get rid of all the bullshit that you have to write in there. All right, that I surveyed the command and
that'll probably be like a checkbox now, Rob.
That's what it's going to be. Yeah,
entry.
I know.
You know?
So what do you think guys are going to do? Right? So I'm just saying.
How many guys really did it? They had their own little checklist and they would just go through.
I did. I used to have a cheat sheet and I'd write it in as I went. But you know what? They're ruining history right here.
I don't know. Yeah, you know what? I like wooden bats. I hate to see. I do, and I do the same thing as you, Rob. I go down and do you know, in the older command logs, the roll call wasn't typed on anything. They wrote it.
Yeah.
The roll call was on the log. The post, which post and everything. Oh, I love that. That was history. I was in city storage and they had the transcripts from the Lucky Luciano trial. Wow. Nice. You know, you're reading that going, man, yeah. I like that stuff. I like that stuff.
All right. I got 3 more starred here. So
go ahead.
I lost it.
You fucked it up again.
I fucked it up. The question was, and I don't want to, as we're answering it, I'll try and go back and find who wrote it. Question was, did any of us ever go to precinct club parties, you know, or the club meetings?
Yep.
So I always
what rank? They're saying as a
at captain or above. Once you hit captain or above, that was part of the question. Once you hit captain or above, I always thought it was important to stop by, have one, even if it's a soda, walk around, say hello to everybody, and then hit the road. I didn't
Irish
spend the
goodbye.
night there. I didn't. I went. I showed my face, showed my support, let the people see that you're human, laugh and joke a little bit with them, and then get out of there and let them talk about you and do their own thing. That's their time to vent.
Get out of there before the silly stuff starts.
Right? I learned early in BMOC and Sergeant, one of the only things I remember from BMOC, when the shots start flowing, the bosses should start going.
Yeah. I went to as many of those, you know, and Chief Canine used to say that too, you know, and he was a lot better boss than people knew because he kind of kept to himself, but I got to know him working in a bar with him, and I also have a great deal of affection for him and respect. And he used to say, you know, Mike, they think of you enough to invite you, show up. He goes, you don't have to stay there for 10 hours, but you show up. They thought of you to invite you. You pay them the proper respect. These are your people, and you go. And he was right. So
Yeah, I mean, I would go. I would have 2 drinks because I do like to drink a little bit, and then I like 92 Charlie says I would do the Irish exit. I got to go to the bathroom, guys. I'll be right back. Oh,
well,
out the door.
the minute, listen, we always had to get up and do a lot of work the next day, but the minute it started getting silly, I got, okay, guys, you try to grab somebody with some time and say, could you make sure this one get home? Don't let them drive like this, and you were out the door. And that was it. So
listen, I can remember club meetings in the 4-1 when I was a cop, and the guys would go outside and just start letting rounds go up in the air.
No, stop.
I'm telling you, bro, that's fucking crazy.
And see,
that was the real time to go then.
And see, when you are when you hit the higher ranks, you got to kind of get out of it before that happens. Listen, I remember a couple stories later on in my career too, pretty much near the end of it, and some high-ranking bosses who I knew, they were in these places past the time when they should have said goodbye, and they got a little jammed up. Some crazy stuff was going on, and you're there. They expect you to stop it, and if you didn't stop it, well, now you're in trouble.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I can't find who wrote that question. If you want to throw your name back in there so I can give you credit for the question. I didn't. I unstarted and it disappeared from here.
It was a good question, though.
It was a good question. No, it was definitely a good question. So people don't understand. People don't understand, that thought. And that's a good question. Like, they may not even ask their boss, hey, you're going to come? Like you said, if you get invited, you stop by. And they always invited you out of respect because, they thought it's the right thing to do. And then you do your best, like I said, to always just stop by and do that. The captains get pressured for arrest. I think we talked about this. There's absolutely pressure, but it's pressure from weak leadership. But there's ways of. It depends on how you take it. Listen, we're all going to get pressure to address the crimes. And one of the ways you address crimes is by making arrests. But again, it should be targeted enforcement to address the conditions that are actually out there and the crimes that are out there.
That all depends upon the boss. So
right, 100%.
To be quite honest, all right, there was a time when a tape was being sent around. So I think it was after the George Floyd thing and the Eric Garner thing, and all of a sudden we were going to be kinder and gentler, right? Baby Lou. And the tape went around from a very high-ranking boss telling the cops, if your boss asks you, if your boss, Billy Blast was the one who asked about the club.
Thanks, Billy. Good question.
If your boss is your sergeant, says you for summonses, you call me direct, you do this, you do that. So basically, you're a very high-ranking boss, and you were telling the cops.
That was Terry Monahan.
No, it wasn't. It may have been him. It was also Jimmy O'Neill, also, both of them. And so basically, you're telling the cops not to work. Now, those same guys, one of my captains from Staten Island went down, and he got his ass kicked. And I said, why don't you just tell him? Did you not see the tape you sent? I can't do that. Yes, you can. You can do it respectfully. You told them not to work. Now, but what they were doing under the table, those same people were getting the words to the executives. Well, if your guys don't work, you're getting transferred, they're getting transferred. So you're telling the cops they don't have to work. But then you're threatening the bosses that they're finished, and that they actually said they were going to transfer my cops and my sergeants if these cops didn't work. But you're the one that told them not to work. So the answer to that is, go ahead, transfer one of my people. I'll do a press conference. I'll blow the balls off you. I'll tell the truth. You can't do this to the cops. It's not fair. You tell them they don't have to work, and then you're telling me they better or else. Just tell them what you want and tell them why you want it. Like you said, Ron. Generally, if you present it to them in a proper way and they know you got their back, still do what you ask. Generally, you're right about that, Ron. Yeah,
100%. That's I've seen that time and again. People that were like the biggest cynics, we'll call them. When you sit them down and explain to them, listen, I'm not telling you to go out there and do it just for the sake of doing it. This is what we're trying to accomplish.
Yeah,
this is what we're trying to do. We're trying to help people's lives.
Yeah.
That's why we're here.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Then
everything you do should have an effect. And you know what? If
Right.
you stop somebody and you feel that you change their behavior by talking to them, you don't have to give them a summons. You know, all I want you to do is change bad behavior. You know, when you stop the idiot in Staten Island, oh, what the fuck you stopping me? Why don't you get around? And the guy's driving daddy's Mercedes and he's been stopped 40 times and he's going to kill somebody. That fucking guy needs a summons because talking to him isn't going to help. He's going to kill somebody, right?
When I was the platoon commander in the 4-4, we had a burglary condition on the day tours. So I went in and addressed the roll call. I said, the CO is having a burglary problem. So what I'd like everybody to do is do verticals because that was a way to combat it, right? You have to get out of the car, walk up and down the building.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many verticals I got. I had to tell them to slow down a little bit because they were so helpful. They were like, definitely, we'll help you out. We'll get the numbers. The CO came into me and goes, how are you getting them to do so many verticals and stuff? I said, I explained to them the burglary conditions and this is what we needed to do. And they did it. All you have to do is explain to your cops what you need to do, let them understand it. And
I think it's a good general rule.
Okay. How about when you explain it to them, they go out and do it and then come in with a great collar?
Yeah.
Because then you got the other guys. Oh, they got lucky. No, they created their luck because they put themselves in the right place for the right reason, and
they understood it.
Came out of it.
Right. Yeah. They understood what they needed to do. Yep.
All right. So with that'll lead us to our last question. We'll end on what I think is a positive note. Do you think, this is from V-Man, who's had some comments tonight, do you think COs should be responsible to some extent for their subordinates' careers and recommend training and positions in order for them to improve their careers and not only ask for numbers?
To some extent?
1,000,000%.
100%. You should be calling your people in, a good cop, a young guy or girl. Hey, where do you see yourself 5 years from now? Because you're doing good work. What can I do to help you get there? And sometimes one of your best cops will come in and ask you for a recommendation. They want to leave. And a lot of bosses don't want them to leave because these guys are great cops, right? So you tell them, of course you can go. I hate to lose you, but you're great. And anything I can do to help you. And if you don't like it, don't worry about it because, change is very stressful. If you don't like it, you tell them you got a home here no matter what. I'll never forget you. That's it. So the cop feels like he was respected and appreciated, and then he also feels safe, he or she, because hey, if I don't like it, sometimes you don't. I can come right back. This person's gonna let me come back. They're gonna welcome me with open arms. Yes, you're very responsible for your people. You know why? Because they're the ones that got you your promotions. That's why.
Mike, I can't tell you how pissed off I used to be when I was doing interviews for Special Operations Division, mainly ESU, and we would get a CO's rec, and it would say, meet or recommend, not highly recommend, just recommend. And we can't take anybody just on a recommend, especially into Special Operations. So we would read the thing, why did you only recommend them? And it would say in there, because the person's good, does good work, excellent, everything else, but I'm low on personnel and I can't lose this person at this time. And I felt that was the most selfish thing that anybody could ever do, to hold back somebody because 100%. You thought you needed them in your command. No, if they're good and they work for you hard, push them forward. That's your job as a boss, executive. That's your job, is to push people forward. Like Ron has said numerous times, and I'll say it too, when we get to a certain position, inspector, chief, and you can elevate other people that you've come across in your career, that's your job. That's your job, to make sure that everybody else has the opportunity that you were given.
And then by doing that, you're also showing the other cops that there's a way out. You're motivating them, because when you have a cop that's busting their ass and going out there doing God's work, and they want to move on with their career someplace else, you hold them back because of selfish reasons. What motivation does that give anybody else to work?
Absolutely.
One of the biggest things that I got out of this job was the ability to use the connections that I made throughout this job no matter where they were, to help cops and people to not only sometimes to get discretionary promotion, but to be able to make a phone call and say, hey, listen, this person's putting an application in, and they would be a great pickup for you, whether it's the squad, narcotics, whatever, because I had a relationship with these people. And my name actually, unlike some people think, my name actually held some weight and meant something, right? Because people know I'm not going to put my name behind somebody that I don't think is going to be in addition to your unit, right? I had Terry Shortell call me up when I was a CO to 110, and she was the CO of the gang unit at the time. And Terry says, Terry to Ron. Now, she's a chief. I was a DI. Terry to Ron. This person, this person, this person, this person, this person all put in applications to gang. Who am I taking in what order? And I'm like, wow. 4 out of 5 of them are probably the best cops in my command. This person has the most seniority, but I'm telling you, this person and this person are the best pickups. Then you pick up this person, blah, 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 blah. And I lost 3 crime sergeants in 6 months to specialty units because they deserved it. They were busting.
You gotta let them go.
Gotta let them go. Gotta let them go. And I agree. Like you said, Mike, there's a lot of people that don't do it, and it's for selfish reasons.
No.
And you can't be selfish.
Look what 92 Charlie saying. You know, there's a few young guys on a job now, and it doesn't ever happen now. I think it does.
He's talking about what you said. He put that up there when you talked about bringing the young cops in and saying, "Where do you see yourself?" and trying to help them.
I think it does. I mean, listen. I hope it does. I know. I would always try to help my guys, and I think it does. I think that people are hesitant to say it sometimes, like they don't want to hear the bosses. You know, they get into the whole thing. The whole job sucks, and they fall into that mantra, and they just kind of don't talk about it, or maybe they're afraid that if it gets out. They won't get promoted, you know. So I don't know about the the camaraderie. You know what, Mr. Charlie, it's a different world now. I mean, people don't talk. I was reading a thing where 22-year-olds are bringing mommy and daddy to job interviews. You know,
it's crazy.
So. No, man, like Marino Samurai saying, that's exactly what happened. Yeah. Steve Bonanno, God rest his soul, one of the great men I met on this job and worked for. You know, he was a CO of the 2-3. I was his XO, and he did go to the emergency service unit. Well, you know that, Mike.
Yes.
And yeah, and he did take a bunch of Manny's guys, heavy hitters, you know, Tommy Ballatoni, a couple other guys, and they excelled. You know, Jose Otero, another guy.
And if they
all
wanted
excelled
to go,
in ESU, you know,
listen,
they did a great job.
If they wanted to go and they deserved it and earned it, I mean, listen, somebody says I'm going to take 20 of your guys. Oh, please, can you like stagger it out a little bit? You can't take 20 at once.
Well, that's what Terry did with me. She took them in increments. So I was able to backfill. Yeah. Right. Back then, you had conditions to backfill your
and you should always have in your head a lineup of who's going to replace when people leave. Yeah.
The minor leagues.
Yep.
All right, and then Johnny, who's not is Mr. Positivity. I haven't experienced what they are saying happened.
Hey Johnny.
I'm sorry to hear that's going
on. Johnny.
Sometimes that has to do with the way you act, also.
I was going to say, well, you're not a good cop because I can't. I mean, listen, you have to be honest with yourself too. Did you deserve it or not? Were you one of the malcontents that was trying to tell everybody else not to work? I don't know. So I see. I see. I talk to Steve all the time. So my brother's a funny bastard too.
All right.
I got a feeling again, like I said, remember that I said that the most unhappy guys or the biggest malcontents were the guys that didn't do so much. Yeah. Unfortunately, that's been my experience. It doesn't apply to everybody. Listen,
I agree.
There are guys that got screwed. I got screwed a little bit, but I mean, there's through my whole career, and probably, maybe I put myself in that position sometimes. But there's guys that are very bitter. And rightfully so, but generally the people that really had nothing good to say ever, they weren't doing much as cops. I remember sitting with the good cops and they'd say, man, I love this. I would do this for free. Now they wouldn't really, but they were great cops, man, great street guys out there, And they just loved it. And they left, they left, a couple of them did 20 and left. I was surprised. I thought they'd be here forever. They didn't. They found other things, I guess. But you got to be honest with yourself. I mean, look, if you were a real good cop and your whole career and never got anything, you mean every boss you had was bad? Well, you had a bad run. If that's the truth, Johnny, I'm sorry, because that's not nice. It's not fair. But the odds are kind of against you on that one. So,
yeah. All right, I got two more just comments, no more questions. We're done with this segment. Thank you very much, everybody. I just want to say thank you to Phil, who hasn't been my biggest fan throughout the show, but I appreciate your thoughts for my daughter. Thank you very much. And same to you, Terry. Several times have wished well. Thank you very much. I appreciate everybody's thoughts and concerns on that.
And before you go, Ron, remember Rob spoke about his buddy that died.
Oh yeah, Walt Melnick. If I
he
get more
died,
information,
he died suddenly, and he's got 2 young children and stuff. So, if you see the link come up to send a few dollars, please do that.
Yeah, definitely.
We, at the end of the day, we can disagree.
Yep.
And we're always gonna. We're human beings, but at the end of the day, we should still think of people like that and their families, and we're fortunate to still be here. So, help out when you can.
Don't think that, they'll have a good pension, the city's going to take care of them. First of all, it's a different type of department than the NYPD, and it doesn't really matter because there's always going to be some type of hardships that any little bit the family could help. So as soon as Rob gets a link, we'll put it up
and it's also
on our X and have all the platforms on the Finest Unfiltered share it out on all the networks.
It's not always about the money either. It's about the family feeling that they're part of a family, that somebody cares about them. That
right.
Because
continued support. Yep.
That guy's a young guy. He's got young kids. Jesus Christ, the poor woman. It's a horror show.
Yeah, it's terrible. So, rest in peace to the chief. All right, we got some super chats. Billy Bikes. This was early on in the show. If you tackle him and the guy died, same sentence.
God only knows.
Handheld discombobulators would work. Back to blue. I don't know what a handheld discombobulator is.
I think the way things are going now, Mr. Billy, so if you tackle him and you touch his chest or his neck when you fell or his back, the way it is now, if a person dies as a result of anything you do, I think it's I think it's a crapshoot, quite honestly. I for the first time in my life, I find myself wanting to tell young cops, try not to get too involved, because I never said that to them, But if you're not going to get the back in, and I mean, I don't think any of us that watched the tape with that guy throwing the cooler said, "Oh man, that was a good idea," and I'm sure he doesn't think it was either. Yeah. He didn't mean to kill him. He just meant to stop him. He meant to collar him, and it just went the wrong way. So.
Our good friend Modern Samurai was read out before. Sorry, I'm late, boss. But do you think getting rid of the command logs is a bad thing? I believe it's horrible not to have written backups. We discussed that already, but thanks again, Samurai. We appreciate you. We appreciate your support. Also, the support of NYPD 8311 999. Yep. Great panel tonight. Prayers to Duran and his family. Yep. So, absolutely. Yep. Thank you very much. Again, we'll go around one last time before we put up the shows for the rest of the week. Rob, you wanted to discuss this real quick?
Oh yeah, I saw it popped up on Facebook. I thought it was a pretty good thing. They're going to talk about, a virtual. You can do it on your computer and stuff, and it helps maybe cops, just retired, bosses, whatever, whoever just retired. Gives you something to look at, because the transition. I experienced the transition from being on the job and then coming into the civilian world is a little different, and you do lose a little bit of support, I believe, from the guys you work with and stuff, because like I said earlier on the show, right, when you call, oh, you're on the job, you're the best. When you're retired, you're a pest. And I felt that. There was a few things I did call for people. I couldn't even get a guy into one of the precincts I was asking to get him into. So, but I think this is a good thing. It kind of hooks up, retired guys.
You really sucked.
Yeah. And that's the easiest thing to do too. I'm waiting. I put a request in for this class that's getting out this month. Let's see if it happens.
Yeah. So I think it's a good thing. I think everybody, if you want to jump on, I think it's a good thing the department doing. So hopefully, I mean, do they care? I don't know, but they're throwing something up there that they're showing their care. So I think we could support it. I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, it's your peers. So no
Yeah.
matter what, listen. Pete Faselli says it on the 10-4 Tavern all the time. It's all right to not be all right. It's not all right to not do something about it. So if something's going on in your life and you need some help, reach out. Reach out to somebody, whether it's at Papa or private somewhere, but reach out, definitely.
I'm going to jump off, guys. I got to walk a couple of German Shepherds.
All right, Mike. Thank you so much.
All right, thanks, Mike.
Appreciate you stepping
Anytime.
in.
Listen, thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Right.
Thanks, Mike. All right, Rob, last words?
I just want to, again, thank everybody in the chat, even Johnny, Drama, everybody. Listen, it keeps us engaged. Georgie, everybody, our good friends, Modern Samurai, Terry, everybody that's here. 92 Charlie, I love you, brother. I appreciate everybody in the chat and appreciate engagement. Sometimes it can hook us a little bit, and that's fine. We'll take it, but it's fun. So I'm still, Johnny, I still want to know who Mo, Larry, and Curly are. I would love that to find that. There's I can go, I can do the old, but and Ron, thanks. I'm so happy that your daughter's doing well. Believe me, we were concerned. And thank everybody in the chat that was supporting you. Today and earlier in the show with John, Eric, and Marlon. But thanks for jumping on. Thanks for coming in, and I know you did a lot with helping me out, getting the show ready. So I really appreciate all the hard work you do. Behind the scenes, people see us just jumping on and don't realize how much hard work goes into production. Really, to make sure that we present, the facts and the show, the stuff that we need, that we think that guys and gals can use out in the street and to reminisce about old times like we did quite a few times today. So,
yeah.
And a closing thought, my heart really goes out to Walt Melnick. Somebody kept asking if there was a Chief Melnick in the NYPD. I remember a Captain Melnick. I think he was in charge of task force maybe in the Bronx, but I don't remember a Chief Melnick. But my heart goes out to all the members of the Bryan PD. God bless you. Stay strong. I know it's a difficult time, but and you lost a very good man. But I would remind you just to support the family. Keep his wife and children in your thoughts and prayers. And obviously, my thoughts and prayers, and I'm sure Ron's and Mike's are all with you and with Walt's family. So, but thank you.
Thank you, Modern Samurai. Thank you, Johnny. Appreciate the thoughts. Again, everybody, thank you so much. Thanks again to Mike. Thanks again to Tom for jumping in and producing the first part of the show behind the scenes from the 10-4 Tavern. So appreciate that. And again, great engagement with the chat. So Friday morning, 08:05, New York's Finest Tried and Unfiltered podcast, the Roundtable with John McCarry, Eric Dim, and Marlon Bethel. They'll be on. They'll continue speaking about everything that's going on currently in the NYPD as well as local politics. Then they'll be back again on Monday. They're Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 08:05. Tuesday, Tom Joyce, Pete Faselli will be back at 7:05 p.m., 19:05 p.m. for the 10-4 Tavern. Again, bringing on great guests from a national stage, talking about a lot of really historical cases from firsthand knowledge. Great show, as always. Go back and watch last night's on the rerun. And then we will be back next Wednesday at 5:05 p.m. for the Executive Perspective. So until
It's our
then, everybody.
52nd anniversary, right? A 1-year anniversary.
No, I think we passed it because we took 2 weeks off.
I know, but this is the 52nd show, so
It'll be the 57th show, 52nd
Yeah,
show.
yeah.
So 52 weeks in, we'll be in for our 52-week show. So we just passed over a year on this great journey. Appreciate you out here, Rob, with this, taking the journey. And I think we've come a long way from our first show.
Yes,
and
exactly.
we're part of a network that's growing, 110,000 plus followers. Subscribers on YouTube. So don't forget to hit the like, share, and subscribe. Really appreciate all the support. So until next week, everybody, be safe. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.